Hey guys, here we are again for Jake's Metal Chat. Been a while since my last one. Just gonna double check how long. Yes, well, episode 37 was my last one. So, and that was 2 weeks ago. Gotta stop checking. I should know when my episode's on. So this is episode 38, and well, I guess was there as soon as I started, but now she's not. Just gonna wait for her to come back in, I guess. Nope. Yeah, sorry for the late delay for other chats. It's been kind of difficult trying to find people to chat because either they're busy with music or they're busy with their jobs or whatever. Plus, I've been doing a lot of the heavy metal hangout videos with the Grey Man, which is a YouTuber I've been following for a while, and yeah, I just go on there because he seems to get members of bands that I just don't know yet. I just don't know. So just gonna quickly message her again saying just to join, because I did see her pop up. Like I said, there will be more of these coming because I got one on Tuesday, then I got one on the 13th and one on the 16th. So I got Tuesday and Friday. Just have to check the calendar then. Just gonna message her quickly. I got myself a stout, so I'm only having this for this evening. It's called Up Late, and I should have had it on the fucking heavy metal hangout. Jake's Metal Sessions as well. I got another episode up. It's the Bristol metal scene part 1. There will be a part 2 and a 3 because there's still a lot of bands out there that, even if they're not going anymore, I will be covering those bands. I've had a trim in my beard recently. You probably can't tell because it's probably grown since I trimmed it. And some news on the heavy metal record shop here in Bristol, Black City Records. Well, it will be opening hopefully on the 17th of April. So once everyone can go and travel again here in the UK or outside the UK, be sure to come to Bristol to come to Black City Records. Pretty much Bristol's only heavy metal record shop. We do have another shop called the Rock Shop, but they mainly have punk and rock mainly. But still a good shop because I used to shop there a lot when I was I started shopping there when I was about 12, 13 years old, and I haven't been there since, to be honest. Okay, she was on. Might have to keep pausing it and stopping it and see if she comes on again. And as for Aventel's stuff, we really been coming up with riffs for other albums and EPs we may be doing. And Herbicidal, there is an album coming along. Can't say too much about that, but hopefully we can talk about it a little bit more in detail. One of the band's just coming up with riffs, recording them, and then once I can get Guitar Pro and all that, I can then tab them out, and then I can remember what the hell what I recorded. Okay. Ah, there she is. So I'll get her in now, and we can chat some metal. Yep, gallery view. That's what I wanted. Hello. And there she is. Hello.
Can you hear me okay?
Perfect. Perfect. It's not
Awesome. So sorry about this. I got booted. I've been having Zoom issues. So
Zoom issues. That's the thing with Zoom.
yes, I'm just changing my view here. There we go.
Yeah,
Awesome.
gallery view. If you want gallery view, then we can see each other. And I see a cat trying to get your attention.
Oh, that's one of many. Yeah.
How many
I'm
cats do you have?
surprised.
Oh, it's just like, please play with me.
I'll get him up here and give you a little view.
And there's another one.
There's another one. See her back there as well.
Oh, well.
You don't want to join and say hi? You always want to be up here otherwise.
Like, shut
Awesome.
up, human.
Yes, totally. I've got a very bright sun coming in, and I'm just had taken a class, so I'm in days.
How those going? How those
Sweet.
classes going?
Class was great. I'm taking a bhakti yoga class.
Oh, cool.
New for me with Purcelli from Paramananda, John Purcelli from Youth of Today and Judge and Shelter.
Cool.
So yeah, that's what we've been doing through the pandemic to try to stay sane. How have you been?
Going for walks mainly when the weather has been nice. Because if you've ever been to the UK, even during summer, it pisses down with rain. So it's crap. But it's been all right today because we did have a heat wave last week. So it was bright blue skies, nice sunshine. Walk up to a place that's called Ashton Court, and it's great. It started raining.
You called it.
It's a good thing I didn't stay out too long. But yeah, I've been all right. Been trying to write music and whatnot, and because I got death metal bands I'm trying to sort out. One's going to be in like Swedish death metal vein, so.
So what's going on? Can I ask you what's going on your end? Because this is getting edited, right?
If there was a mistake at the beginning, there would be editing.
Okay, all right.
I just let it flow.
I'm ready to interview you. I was going to say what was going on musically on your end there. I see.
Yeah, you can ask me questions. It's all good.
Great, yeah. What are you doing? I want to hear what you're doing musically.
Recording an EP with my folk metal band. Aventel. Hopefully we should get some stuff recording, and hopefully when we can meet up in a rehearsal room, rehearse the songs, then get more the EP done, and then maybe get an album done. Who knows?
Sounds like a plan to me. I mean, it sounds like you've kept yourself busy with this and
I try.
Writing. I know. Oh,
bloody hell!
Yeah, everybody just wants to be on camera. So.
Everyone just wants to be on camera. It's like we want in. Well, too bad you can't. Too bad. Well, I can't talk to you. But anyway, welcome to Jake's Metal Chat. This is episode. You're welcome. This is episode 38. I was trying to remember then because 37 was a mate of mine. Hang on. Yeah, 37. God, got too many things going on in my head.
I know, and I threw you. I'm already pitching the curveballs. So
like boof, boof. Getting hit in the face here. I don't think this woman needs any introductions. But for you underground death metalers, I mean, I didn't know about these guys when I was a kid because they were around when I was a kid, but this is Mary. I want to try and say your last name, but I don't know how to say it. How do you say last name?
Last name is Bielich, but I'll take Mary B.
This is Mary Bielich. She is in the band Derkéta, how do you say it? She used to play in November's Doom, and she was in an all-female death metal band, death doom metal band back in the day called Mythic. If no one's familiar with Mythic, then what the hell are you doing? What rock were you under? I know Cannibal Corpse and all that were the biggest death metal bands, but these guys deserve much attention. And I got myself a stout, so I'm all good.
Fantastic! I have my leftover coffee from 4 hours ago, but you know what? There you go.
There you go. Coffee's a metal drink. Well, I was going to ask how you were doing during the pandemic, but you just said doing yoga classes and stuff. So
yeah, that was one of the interesting things as far as a lot of people, as you know, did things that would have been slightly out of character. So it was kind of interesting to sort of try something that would have been based on improvement,
Yeah.
something a little bit more positive. I mean, we've probably talked it into the ground at this point, but it was a very serious thing.
Mhm.
A lot of lives were lost, a lot of
Yeah.
businesses were lost, a lot of hope was lost. So I think
Yep.
people took to some interesting things aside of their normal paths of work, music.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that I had picked up. And it was just something that came across my Instagram feed. I've always been an admirer of a lot of the groundbreaking hardcore bands.
Nice.
And so I follow a lot of them. You know, I don't know a lot of them. I was never involved directly in the scene other than going to shows and enjoying the music. You know, I was in a lot of punk bands, but not that kind of punk. But have been following it since the late 80s, follow all the people who pretty much started the genre and still continue to champion and move forward with it. And so one of the news feeds was his, and it came across, and I said, you know what? I'm going to give that a try. That's so out of character. I'm going to give that a try. And he's an amazing person. He's an amazing person. It's great. I highly recommend it.
Cool. I'll look on your Instagram followers and who you're following and find them.
Yes. He's under the Hardcore Yogi. And,
Hardcore Yogi. I just think Yogi Bear at this point.
he is a true yogi. I guess anyone who follows a path of yoga is known as a yogi, regardless of your skill level.
I've never known that at all. So
I know this was an interesting way to jump into something. You were probably like, how did we immediately get so far?
No, we could chat anything on this bloody chat. Like, well, metal is going to be the main thing, but we can chat about pretty much anything.
Of course. But it's kind of interesting because not his bands, but a lot of the godfathers of hardcore bands, you know, the Sick of It Alls and the Agnostic Fronts and bands like that, were on bills, and it could partially be due to some crossover. Perhaps it was the labels that they were on, because labels like Nuclear Blast, Century Media, you know, their Relapse, it all came into play with some bands that were not traditionally metal bands, as these guys, like I said, were the godfathers of hardcore. So back in the day,
I see what you're saying.
it's like the first time I ever saw Sick of It All, though they had been through Pittsburgh a couple times, was on the tour with it was Sepultura, Sacred Reich, Napalm Death, and Sick of It All. Just like Agnostic Front was, for some reason there were a handful of those bands that were on the really, really early death metal tours and the Grind Crusher tours.
Yeah,
so it was kind of interesting how that sort of and it was always really great. I mean, as much as we loved all the other bands, it was really great to have that refreshing, different thing placed in the middle of all of that. So some of that hardcore crosses over, even though they stay true and pure to their form, crosses over to metal.
Yeah, definitely. Because you mentioned Agnostic Front, they actually went, back in the 90s, I found this. They went on tour with Metallica, Creation, Obituary, and Cannibal Corpse. Yep. Which was, I think that must have been a mental tour. I was only about one when that was happening.
Yeah, and you're excused.
I'm excused. I couldn't go to it unless I can go back in time and watch it.
When people say, I know people my age and people older than I am tend to say, "Well, we were there when," and you're like, "Well, I'm sorry, I'm 4 years old."
I remember being there. I remember being there, being smacked in the face. Good for you.
Totally. Yes, exactly. And there are a lot of, we tend to do that. Those of us older folk, but it's fun to tell the stories. And there was a lot of crossover back in the day. Still is some now.
Yep.
But so I think a lot of people you find in their 40s and 50s now tend to like all of those genres. You know, the underground was the underground and a little bit more all-encompassing.
Yeah, definitely. And I was just looking at your instruments. You got your bass, your guitars, and do I see a mandolin?
Yes.
That's Since I play folk metal, we've got a mandolin.
Yes.
So
we have a didgeridoo in the corner, a clarinet, and a pandemic. Yeah, definitely.
Didgeridoo. I'll hear that on the next Derkéta probably.
Yeah.
Didgeridoo death metal. There we go.
In my case, it's the didgeridoo because I'm not.
I tried playing it. I tried playing one before. It didn't work.
Yeah, it's something. Yeah, it's definitely an acquired taste, and B, requires some skill and some practice that I do not possess. So it's
Yeah, I'm kind of like that. I got a bouzouki as well, so I've been trying to learn that.
amazing. How many people have that in their repertoire? This is a shared group of many other people's instruments as well. These are not mine. Mine is the bass that I've been playing since 1988, the old 5-string ESP M5,
Cool.
which just recently, as in 2 months ago, I started on that bass. Well, I didn't start playing bass on that bass, but acquired it again in 1988. And had been playing bass for a couple years, drums before that, you know, as a little, you know, oh, what do you say? A band kid, you know, growing up. So it was always percussion and drums. And then there, you know, enter the bass guitar in high school. And eventually I ended up with this after a Rickenbacker, a Fender P, a Japanese Fender P, a Cort, and I think that rounds it out pretty well. So this bass from 1988 has been on anything, not that it's been, you know, but this has been on everything I've ever recorded or traveled or toured up. That's the bass. I just decided, you know, whenever you have an instrument and obviously you jump around and you have so many different things. I always wanted the challenge of taking one and stretching it. Let's see how far we can take this. You know, it might have been a little bit of the backlash against people that I knew that were like, I've got 20,000 guitars. Like I said, this looks a little bit showy and impressive. These are not all mine. These are Matt's. And in Derkéta, I'm playing, you know, with guitar. I'm borrowing a lot of stuff. I'm not a guitar player at all, but I am in that role for whatever reason.
Whatever reason you would put there.
Yes. So other than the Derkéta stuff, that bass has been on any punk metal, death metal, doom, Penance, Behind Enemy Lines, Mud City, you know, it's been on everything. But just recently I did make the leap and acquired another 5-string, the diesel bass from Blackheart Guitars, who are based in the US, who are
I know Blackstar, because my mate Jason, he's in the Norwegian slam band Cranium, and he's got guitars from Blackstar, and he's pretty much like endorsed or sponsored by them.
I'm not sure who's all on the roster. I know they have a Bill Steer signature series. Yes, pickup, and they have Confessor and Origin, and people that are far better known than I am. And that's Blackheart, Blakhart.
That's the one.
Yep, same one. Yep.
That's the one he's got guitars from, and
fantastic.
He posted pictures of him like with the logo and one of his guitars. So
that's great. That's definitely. You know, I'm really like pleased to be in such good company and to be included with a really I'm humbled to be with such a crew like that. But let's see how it goes. My first new bass in how many years? Over 33 years.
Definitely.
And again, it was a little bit of a backlash against, you know, when you're traveling and you're jumping in the van and you're playing like 3 shows a week. This is not tours. This is not sponsored tours. This is all DIY stuff. So it's just out of personal like insanity. But yes, and I'm sure many people can agree and understand, you know, all for the love of it. But, you know, you have to invest in your van. You have to invest in van care. You have to invest in merch. You have to copy tapes. You have to record. So when people would have these amazing setups and have so many instruments, it was sort of like, well, that would be wonderful. And I respect that. And you do you and you be great. But I got to put gas in the tank to get to the next town. So we took the old ESP. And there it is. So
there it is, people.
Yeah, we'll see how the Blackheart does. I'm really like, after playing it a couple times, I love it. It's great.
Oh, got to see it once you put it on your Instagram, so I can just like just like this is cool. Anyway, this is another question I like to ask guests. Where did your music journey begin, and how did it get to metal? This music that we love so much.
You know, I think it's weird because when it got to metal, it seemed like a lifetime, but it was only the teenage years, as it was for most of us. But those were very long ago. What's that?
I was about 11 when I got into metal.
Exactly. Sure. That makes perfect sense. So see, that makes up for you being 1 year old whenever the crossover Grain Crusher tours were going on.
Yeah, I missed that. I can only watch them on YouTube.
you do, and that's great, and that's great. So so yeah, it's just playing music from a young age, you know, just loving music, loving everything. I mean, I think how many people around my, you know, how many Gen Xers are like, well, of course I always loved music, but then the first step was Kiss, and then it was, you know, you go into many things, you get into Zeppelin, you get into AC/DC, but just sort of like just a rabid music fan of all kinds.
Cool.
Played music, percussion, was taking lessons when I was in the 3rd, 4th grade with a great jazz drummer. And he was just, you know, he was so cool. I think I kind of attribute to him, Mr. Olibrand was his name,
Mr.
and I used to take lessons from him. But I think his attitude was so great, and his love of playing, just it transcended to his students. So yeah, so that might have planted the seed, but just always listen to music. The radio was always important, you know, it was always, you know, and at the time it was that. It was radio and record stores, and just little by little, you just take the step and you start getting a little bit deeper, you start getting a little bit deeper, you want something a little bit more. Okay, what's past this? What's past this? And when you discover the independent record stores with people working there, a staff that can say, oh, you like this? You really should check out this. Oh, you like that? So you're sort of going down the step from like music to rock and roll to harder rock. Then it gets into punk and a little bit of heavy metal and heavier stuff, and then it goes a step deeper into speed metal and thrash and, you know, more aggressive punk and hardcore, and then down to, you know, the later 80s where here comes death metal. But again, it was always somebody else that knew more, that was a little bit older, that got people like me one step farther in the direction of more extreme music. And there was nothing more extreme than death metal in the late 80s.
Yeah, because
that I could find.
That's when it was taking off, because I had Cam Lee on here like last year.
Right.
Pretty much a legend within the scene. That chat's 3 hours long, so if you got 3 hours of your life, you can watch that.
Yes, I'd love to.
And you know, he's just sat there with his sunglasses on, so I was like, yeah, that's true Cam Lee style. He's got to have his sunglasses on. And it went on for ages because he had so much to talk about, because he was there when, in like early 80s, when before there was even a thing called death metal, and he was a punk rocker at the time. And he joined Death, which was Mantis, and then it was Death, and then Massacre. He's got too many bands to mention.
He is a man of many bands, and it's really fun to hear stories from people like that, because it goes back beyond a point where a lot of people were either involved or didn't even exist at the time yet. So it's amazing to hear the beginnings of a genre. And like you said, I think that's a real testament to the generations before, who cultivated and then got all of us into something. In Cam's situation, you know, being at the foreground of creating a genre, you know, like how many people can say they did that? It's amazing.
Not very many people can say that, because he was there, and Jeff from Possessed had obviously Possessed.
Yep.
And was also, I think they both unknowingly created something that we all love and listen to, and gone to all the shows and talked about bands that some people, because I can mention some of your bands to people and like, oh, I've not heard of them. And it's like, well,
it's definitely like what those guys did again, is they created a genre, and it gave us the chance. I mean, they gave us a lot. Them, just by existing and doing what they did, made it a lot easier for people like us to do what we did, because there was an example. You know, there were people to look up to. There were, you know, people we admired and stuff we wanted to do, and people we followed. So I think a lot of sometimes people don't give credit where credit is due, and I think a lot of times it's just because they don't know. But there's always somebody before you that, like, you know, that paved the way for what you did. It's just, you know, and then in turn you pave the way for other people, you know.
Yeah.
It's a ripple. It's like the ripple effect.
Ripple effect, yeah. And I was going to ask as well, did you come from a musical family at all? Or did anyone in your family play music?
not to any, none of us played to any degree of professionalism. But yes, but everybody was a big music fan. Everybody was a music lover. You know, there was a lot of big band, and there was a lot of jazz, and there was some classical, but there was a lot of rock and roll. And, you know, I mean, I wasn't very, I wasn't very, I liked everything. I liked a lot of crap.
That's either.
I played a lot of crap. I still like a lot of crap. So it wasn't, but you know, sometimes it's just like music, just give it to me. I'll take it. Pop music, okay, if I like it, I'm gonna like it. But
Yeah.
yeah. So there was all kinds of stuff being played in our household. So I was lucky for that.
That's great. Yeah, because I think I had somewhat of a similar experience. Well, because my mum likes stuff like Queen, Elvis, Frank Sinatra. I'm still a big fan of Queen today.
Of course.
And you know, I love all these heavy underground, even the bigger death metal bands as well. It's like Queen is like, oh, I listen to all these death metal bands and Queen.
Isn't it kind of though? Isn't it as they are? It's well deserved, and I'm such a Brian May fan. I love Brian May for who he is, his music, what he does, what he's created, and what he does now with animal rights and activism.
Yeah,
he's just an amazing dude, amazing dude. But it's kind of I always thought it was a prerequisite. If you lived in the UK, you're going to love Queen. Just like if you know, like people assume I lived in Indiana, so I play basketball. There are always those preconceived notions, but
yeah,
Queen is well, and that's just because my sister and I were like, they did a poll in England, and the best rock band of all time is Queen. It's always Queen.
Queen, of course. Yeah. Well, my mum was always a big fan of them. She never got to see them live, obviously. Never got the chance to. But she did get to see David Bowie live, so that's something.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Because you started playing in '88, like you said, and well, the bass anyway. Because they got married in '88, and my mum and my dad are not together anymore. But when they went and saw David Bowie, I can't remember where it was. It might have been in London somewhere. But behind them, like in some other rows, was Princess Diana and Elton John.
Amazing.
Which is mental. I was just like, wait, okay.
That's like otherworldly. That's insane.
That's just weird, but yeah, there you go.
Very cool.
Of course, and the reason I started doing these as well, because I like to learn from those who were in the early death metal scenes, to know their stories, how they got into it, what their bands were, and if people know these bands, I would be very surprised if you didn't. But and that, what do you want, Kat?
It's gonna happen the whole time.
It's fine. We allow animals in here. We love animals.
We had a little scuffle.
And we got one who's just like, please, stay with me. I love you.
Corner, and yeah,
I love you, Mum.
This is nap time now. This is when we're usually all at work, so I think they're they're taking advantage of the computer time and enjoying hearing your voice.
There's me as well. They're like, new person. But I'm in England. You can't see me.
They vibe it. They vibe it.
And so you started playing bass. Was this when you were at school? You started playing bass?
Yeah, this would have been high school. So I started playing the bass in '86.
'86.
After I had played drums, and taken lessons and whatnot. It was always kind of a loose thing. And bass was more influenced. Playing bass was more influenced straight by rock and roll. It was just, I don't know what it was. I don't know who it was, but it was all John Paul Jones, John Entwistle, Christopher Squire, John Taylor from Duran Duran. Though I never really aspired to play that type of amazing bass. He's one of my favorites and one of the people that were like, "Ooh, check that out," And Tony Franklin, who played with Blue Murder and The Firm, obviously Billy Sheehan, Tallis, the David Lee Roth band. Yep. I mean, there was just something about it. There was something about moving on from, that was attractive to me. It was just, it was a bit of a, not to sound dramatic, it was a bit of a calling. It was just like, I'll give that, I think that's what I want to do. And again, had a couple of different basses and played. And then in 1988, moved back to Pittsburgh in the fall of '87 to go to college, which I actually studied music. And
Awesome.
don't get me wrong, I was at the bottom of my class. I struggled the whole way through, but I got through.
I struggled at school and college, so
I think everyone we know did at some point.
I was
But,
terrible.
yeah, it was one of my favorite parts about school is when I actually got into the music program. I did learn a lot. So that challenge was when I was mature enough, to really like sort of lock in and actually try. That was really cool. But also, some friends and I were part of the college radio station, and
Nice.
I actually feel like that gave me a big springboard to what I wanted to do more than some of my classes, more some of the academics, and because it was a very underground radio station. I think it was really cutting edge. I don't know how they're doing it at this time, but we did a metal show that was inherited from a guy named Tony Flaskus. So he started the metal show with a lot of thrash in I think about 86. And then we eventually took it over, and at the time it was that sort of in-between phase between thrash and death metal.
Yep.
So, but if it was metal, we played it. And then as I got deeper into playing the bass and would go to Ides Records, our local record store, which we were so lucky to have. And the guys that worked there, everybody that worked there was in a band. Necropolis, Eviction, Half-Life, all of the Pittsburgh punk and metal bands. So you had, you walked into there, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and ready to like learn. And those guys would help guide you through, like, oh, you like Metallica? Did you ever check out Creator? Oh, you like Creator? Did you ever check out, and they would take you.
Yeah, you just get all these bands and it's just a massive overload of bands. It's like,
Totally.
Yes, Creator. What Creator? Damn it.
All while keeping, keeping the classics, I definitely like keeping a lot of the older classic bands, be it like rock, more obscure psych rock bands or the doom bands at the time, St. Vitus and Trouble and Candlemass.
I was just about to say Candlemass.
Yes, of course. So stuff like that, so while I was playing and I would like to think better and more comfortable with my instrument and playing in like some small local bands and kind of, trying to feel that out, because playing in a band itself takes a little bit of adjustment. I'm sure you would agree.
Yeah, because
it seems easy, but you sort of have to figure out how to do it. Everything from transporting your gear, showing up to practice on time, booking a gig, all that stuff for the first time. So that's all going on over here with my friends and I musically, while we were learning more about music from the guys we looked up to who were already in established bands. And
definitely.
So it started there, and just kind of went boom, 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 boom,
boom,
and
boom, boom, and you played in all these bands, and one of them we're going to chat about is Mythic. Now, how did that start out? And did you know the two before meeting?
I didn't know Terry. Yes, I knew Terry because Terry and Sharon were Derkéta. Derkéta predates Mythic.
Yeah, of course.
So that was the first. So, which is like, I still have so much admiration for Sharon and Terry as friends and as people that brought, and they were very new on their instruments, and they just kind of got to it and recorded a rehearsal, recorded a demo and recorded a 7-inch. And
yeah, it's just those two.
Yeah, it was just the two of them. Exactly.
That's amazing.
They had a couple people come and go, for various reasons. Nothing insane, it's just, again, everybody's so young and figuring it out at the time.
They're just like, oh, I don't know, I'll go this way.
Yes, it was very much like that. So they were the standards and they were the solids. So when I actually credit those two and Don from Nunslaughter, Don Crotsley, from getting me into making that step from thrash and speed metal, to death metal. Again, they were like, wait a minute, you like this? You gotta check this out.
You like this? Go check this band out. What the fuck?
Yes, yeah. But I was also, again, I was into a lot of punk. I always loved punk.
Punk.
Yeah, punk's great. I mean, I still play in a punk band. I have 2 punk bands, and
cool.
It's definitely it seems to be interspersed. I've been lucky enough to have gone from like metal punk, all the things I like. Yes,
it's just those two together now.
Yes, yeah, it's always it's always the two ingrained, but it's all ingrained together.
All ingrained.
And so so I was when I started playing with Terry and Sharon, they were sort of like interested in doing different things, not necessarily musically, but they were sort of like Terry was more interested in one thing, Sharon was more interested in another thing. So Mythic formed. Oh, it was a really short-lived. It was only a year and a half.
Yeah, it was like trying to think. Was it 91 to 92?
That's exact. Yes, yes. That's absolutely right.
Yeah, because I saw it on Metal Archives and thought, wow, I wish this band lasted just a little bit longer.
You know, it was a really it was fun while it lasted, and it was a good learning experience as far as, you know, the first time I had the chance to travel somewhere to play a show. You know, the first show that we ever played was in Providence, Rhode Island, and it was just, you know, I don't know, it was just, it may as well go, you know what I mean, go big or go home. We were just like, oh, we're gonna do this, but we're gonna do it and see what happens.
See what happens.
Yeah, and it was a lot of fun, and you know, a lot of stress, a lot of nerves.
Of course, there's stress and the nerves because you're playing in front of people and you don't know what they're going to think of you.
Right.
And they might say, "Oh, they're completely shit," or
totally.
Or they'll say, "Oh, I really fucking love that."
Well, we made it through. We made it through the night, and again, you got to get over that. Again, anybody that might be just starting playing, I don't care how old you are, the first show with any band, even if
it's nerve-wracking.
Years is yes, exactly. It's nerve-wracking, and it, you know, oh my gosh, you could be playing for 30 years, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, you know, you could have tons of shows that can go, you know, it depends.
It can go horribly wrong.
It can go horribly wrong for so many reasons.
Gear malfunctions.
Yes.
Not a lot of people turn up.
Yes, it's not.
Or you're double booked.
Yeah, it really is a labor of love, you know, because of all of those things. You know,
all those things above.
Any given time. So it was just nice to get that first show over with. It was a bit stressful because it was kind of a big show, but then we had the chance to play with, you know, in Pittsburgh. Speaking of Cam Lee, we had a show. We played with Massacre and Grave and Baphomet and
Baphomet,
yeah, it was definitely, I know I've got the flyer from it. Still, it was five bands, I believe, and it was, yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun, and then it started to get a little bit less stressful to play out. But in that year and a half that we were around, we did actually play quite a few shows, and we made some amazing friends and some people that, you know, I'm still friends with to this day. So yeah, it was yeah, definitely. It was a whirlwind of a year and a half, but it was definitely, you know, it was instrumental in me getting to meet a lot of people that I truly care about.
Yeah, that's like the best thing ever, because I'm looking at a show now on my phone. It's Michigan Death Fest 2. That was the 16th of November 1991. I was born on the 4th that year.
Oh.
I was a baby when that was happening.
Wait a minute, how old were you then? How many days old were you?
I was born on the 4th, so...
You said it was the 16th? I can't remember, or the 14th of November?
It says the 16th here.
You know, after you got out of the hospital, why weren't you there?
I was a baby and on the other side of the country, on the other side of the world, so there you go. Excuses here. I mean, I can't... And I'm looking at the bands as well. You played with Autopsy, Baphomet, Broken Hope, Cannibal Corpse, Incantation, Lucifer's Hammer, Malicious, Onslaught, we never heard of, Mortician, Repulsion, who I have seen, they're brilliant, and Vital Remains.
Yes, I know. It was quite a show, wasn't it?
Just seeing that, I was just like, man, I wish I was born just a little bit earlier.
Well, you know what's kind of cool about that? What was cool about that is, and now if we talk about it, it's this, you know, it's not that anybody would necessarily remember the band that I happen to be in, but I usually get more props. I say, I played with Repulsion at the second Michigan Death Fest, or hey, I played with Autopsy. That's what gets them, is like playing with those.
It's like, you played with those bands? That's cool.
Yeah.
And I actually got a CD here. It's not any specific EP album, well, EP, your most well-known one being Morning in the Winter Solstice, which is heavy as fuck.
Recording that was,
And what was that like?
Yeah, time is money and money is time for most of us. This predates, being able to have any more than like a 4 or an 8 track that you could record with like a Tascam at home. So when you wanted to put something out, especially if you were pressing vinyl, you're like, all right, we got to go to the studio, but we don't have a lot of time because we don't have a lot of money. So like, let's get this in, let's get this done. And so we went in, I think we went in on a Friday night, dropped off the gear, set some things up, maybe got some drum sounds Saturday, recorded, and then Sunday mixed or something like that. It was another whirlwind, but I mean, it's just 3 songs, but still we went to a studio about 45 minutes away in West Virginia.
Blinking heck.
What's that?
Blinking heck. Just traveling that far to get to record an EP.
It was definitely like, they recorded all sorts of things like gospel and pop rock and things.
They probably didn't know how to record a death metal release.
But I gotta give him credit. The dude rolled with he rolled with it, and I mean, he was a professional. But I was like, all right, I'm still pretty happy with it to this day.
Yeah, and then listening to Dana just do guttural vocals and thinking no woman should be doing that.
And don't forget that TJ from Baphomet.
Yeah, I was just about to say he did guests on that.
Yes, he does some back and forth on there too. And if you listen closely, you can tell when he chimes in. But
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, again, I guess it's one for the
it's one for the books.
Yeah, if whether anyone knows it or not.
And I think people have seen this cover. It's right there.
Yeah, that's been used by so many bands.
It's been used by so many bands. There's Convulse from Finland. They got that cover, but done it very differently. But every band demo or EP I've seen, they've all used that image, and I don't even know what that image is called.
I think you will find that image in any genre of underground music. You will find that image on at least somebody's demo or rehearsal. But I'm still glad we used it. I'm not a very artistic person, so it was more like hey, is this cool?
Let's use that.
Yeah, that's cool. Sure, looks good.
It's like Bolt Thrower and the Fourth Crusade. They used the painting. So, and they pretty much fit what they were going to do for the album anyway.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
So,
which is more as a tribute than it is a plagiarizing, and that's the thing. A lot of that at the time wasn't, people weren't profiting off of their bands, so it was just sort of like expressing what you loved and what you thought represented you. So
yeah, definitely. And but yeah, like I said, I got a CD here. It's pretty much got all your releases on it, and it's this.
Yes, and I have to full disclosure, I had no idea that was coming out, and
You had no idea.
No, yeah, Terry and I haven't had anything to do with anything Mythic related since 1992. Sure. So yeah. So if there's vinyl that's pressed or things come out,
they don't tell you.
No, that's it. They just they're just showing up.
There we go. Here it is.
Yeah, here it is.
But your name's on it.
Yes, yeah, that's sort of that. I have to say, at what point, in the spirit of tape trading and whatnot, I would really like to have seen it continue to be traded, for free in the old ways versus packaged and sold. But apparently, it has. So there it is. I have seen that.
I thought I'd show it because it's the only thing I got by Mythic. So, and here's some old school pattern pictures.
Yeah, that's
there. You are down there.
That's a Half-Life shirt that I was wearing backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have a whole lot of shirts at the time, so I used to.
Because we got
Half-Life's like one of the classic punk bands from Pittsburgh who have a couple of great classic punk releases. So that was my old school Half-Life shirt, and I would flip it around and backwards.
I was trying to think what that band was. I thought, because I swear I saw one picture on the archives page. You're wearing a Benediction shirt. Was
Me?
I think it was you.
It would be Terry. Well, I would say Terry definitely.
It might have been. Hang on.
Yeah.
I'm getting confused here.
I bet it's probably Terry.
It's Terry. You were wearing Napalm Death.
Yes, yes. From I believe that was the tour that I think that was the 91. I think that was the tour that I saw Sick of It All on that show.
Well, there's Terry.
Yeah, there she is.
I think that's Unleashed she's wearing.
Big time.
And there's Dana wearing Bolt for her, of course.
The classics are represented. I'm a little bit of the oddball with the Half-Life shirt, but I'm such a fan of was such a fan of our bands.
Another band picture of you, of all you gorgeous ladies.
No, that's a My Dying Bride shirt from
I thought so. It was like My Dying Bride.
And also back in the days where everyone wore things as big as possible. The triple, like the shirts, the bigger the better, bigger. You got it in a triple X. I'll take it.
You got to wear this band. You got to wear this band shirt because they're the big band at the moment, or whatever. And there's a better picture. I was going to show on my phone, but it's much better here. Here we go.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because it's like when I look at everyone and you're like, man, we look so mature and we're so worldly, and then you look back on it when the decades pass, you're like, oh man, we look like we're like 5 years old.
5 years old.
So funny, yeah.
Well, we know which one Mary is. She's wearing an Napalm Death shirt and some red shorts.
I get it, and my Doc Martens.
And your Doc Martens.
There was, you got to remember, it was a different time, 1991.
That's the year I was born. So.
And my favorite band at the time was Melvins.
Yeah, they just got a mix of everything, punk and metal and whatnot. So that's why they say on Metallica, Metal Archives, various for their sound, because they just got all these mixed sounds.
You couldn't. I played in when I was in Penance, the Doom band Penance, which was back in the day when they toured with Sleep and they put out their first record on Rise Above Records, Lee Dorian's label, and the second one was Century Media, and they did a tour with Sleep and Cathedral, came back and then did some various recordings, and then in the early 2000s I joined the band, and it was where am I even going with this? I'm sorry. Back in the
it's fine.
So we would be, we when we did it, we got a chance to go over to Europe with our lineup, and people were asking, who's your favorite Doom band? And I said Melvins, and they said, no, this is early 2000s, and they're like, you're not even the ballpark. I'm like, you put that on and you tell me that's not heavier than any other band that considers themselves a Doom band. You tell me that. And now, it kind of is. I just always thought the heaviness, no, you're like you said, it is unclassifiable.
It's unclassifiable because they just mixed everything together. So you don't know, you can't really call them Doom or punk or anything.
Exactly. But it was an interesting curveball too, when people are like, what's your favorite Doom band? Because a lot of people at the time, there were not that many. Not many. Even the term Doom, like, is it possible that Rise Above Records, like the Dark Passages comp that came out in 90, I believe, that could have been really the first, like, sort of like naming of that genre, although it was referred to as such, which is a long time now. But, mad respect and all credit to Lee Dorian for doing what he loved,
Because he was in Napalm Death before Cathedral.
Exactly. I mean, talk about, again, a rich and diverse history. So I think that term might have actually, we discuss, sometimes you have those odd discussions, and we're like, when did it start being referred to as this,
Yeah.
So
that's the thing.
Yeah, like, because again, we had dropped a couple names of some of the bands that we consider, like Trouble, and
Trouble.
Confessor, which had some, prog and tech elements in what they did too, Revelation and bands like that. So we're like, was that really a genre at the time, or did that come into play in 1990? Who knows? Yes.
Who knows? And I was going to ask about where these band pictures are taken, because one looks like it's taken outside of a church.
Yeah, of course.
Of course.
Absolutely.
Obviously a church, and I'm not sure where the others were taken, because it looked like you guys were in a park in this one.
We were in one, I think some were taken on the north side. I've never seen that, honestly.
You've never seen that picture?
No, I mean, I've seen that pictures, but I remember the pictures, but I've never seen this CD layout because, like I said, Terry and I, that's a
better one. It's in purple, but there we go.
Oh, that's Mount Washington. That would be on top of the
mountain. Cool.
Yeah. So that's the overlook. Every band in Pittsburgh took a band photo. It was like tradition, no matter what your genre was. You had to go up to the mountain and you had to take that picture. So that one is the classic, Pittsburgh tribute, Mount Washington.
Yeah, and
this is LG Katrov.
LG Katrov.
Yes. This is rest in peace, LG.
I was about to say rest in peace to LG Petrov of Entombed AD, Fighter Spawn, Comic-Con, because he was on that one album, Comic-Con. I'm trying to remember the flipping name of it, but when he passed away, my just sunk.
Really?
My heart just sunk.
Yeah, I understand. That
he's a massive influence on my vocals that I'm doing for my death metal bands.
Yeah.
So, my Swedish style one, but
I think he was an influence to people who don't even realize he was an influence to them.
No. And did you ever meet him? Did you meet him?
I have a couple of times. Not in a band to band way though. It was just it was a place and time thing. So there was never a discussion. It was like talking to somebody that you were standing next to at the pub. So really nice guy, and absolutely humble, and deserved every bit of accolade. All the accolades.
Deserves a lot of credit,
and deserves a lot more.
A lot more, because when death metal was not really a thing throughout the late 90s to like 2000s and stuff. Definitely. He was still going with it, despite not very many people listening to death metal.
Yeah,
he was still going at it, and he gets.
Yeah, he was legit, man. He stayed true.
He gets all the respect from me, and I hope a lot of fans out there.
He did, and he was willing to take a chance with what he did as they were, because I was part of that crew, the old school crew. When Wolverine Blues came out. There were some records that came out that were controversial in the death metal scene because they might have been a little bit, somebody might have changed a guitar tone, or somebody might have started using samples, or but Wolverine Blues had a little bit, pardon the term, a little bit more of a groove to it.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit odd on the ears to a lot of us, but after it took time for me to love that record. But first of all, they were doing stuff, starting a genre, influencing people who don't even know that they were influenced by them. Crust bands, D-beat bands, punk bands, metal bands, like across the board, a sound. And so that's not any criticism. It just was a little strange to my ears at first because I wasn't used to hearing their sound, but grew up a little bit and realized once again, they knocked it out of the park. So
it was different from Left Hand Path.
Yeah.
And he wasn't on this one, but Clandestine, he wasn't on that, but it's different from that as well.
Right.
Because it wasn't that groove, as you said. It was groovy anyway, but I think there went more groove with Wolverine Blues and the later albums.
Yeah.
Just a bit more.
They coined the genre death and roll.
Definitely.
Which wasn't a thing. I can attribute them 100% to doing that, which at first, as much as I love rock and roll and punk and glam and all kinds of things, I wasn't sure how I wanted those genres to combine at the time.
Yeah,
but it's because I love rock and roll, New Bomb Turks and bands like that, and they ended up doing a split with them, which is insane. But and then after a while, like I said, it's like they were way ahead of that. They were way ahead of people like me with their vision for their bands,
Yes,
cool,
definitely.
It's
definitely more.
a big loss. It's a total loss
Total loss, and LG will be missed.
Great.
And I wish I had the chance to have him on here, but I didn't want him to come on when he was ill. So, it would have been nice to chat to him about the Entombed days, but obviously there's other members of the band, but I think he would be the one talking the most. Maybe I don't know, because I got to meet him once.
Yeah. I mean, they're so known for their signature guitar sound and for
HMG,
producing the Swedish sound. When people talk about the Swedish sound, to me, it all goes back to, to Nihilist and Tomb, and a choice couple of other bands. But his vocals were just as influential as that guitar sound to me. So.
Yeah, the HM2 Boss distortion pedal, and that's basically what I said. One of my bands is going to be like that because I got the pedal.
Right.
I actually have the pedal, so
that's great.
Got to have it turned all the way up, not one bit turned down or whatever. It's got to be turned all the way up because otherwise you're not going to get that sound you would hear on Left Hand Path or like an Ever Floating Stream or Into the Grave or whatever. Any Swedish death metal band these days that uses it, or even some American bands like Gatecreeper that use that, and Black Breath and Soul Devourment from LA because they got that sound there. There's probably some more bands, but they're escaping me at the moment.
I heard it a lot in political crust and what people
crust bands too,
like DB. I think some of those groundbreaking death metal sounds transcended into that over through the 2000s.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, not even not if not necessarily again without knowing or knowing or not knowing, because when it got to that point, I think there's a lot of punk bands that became heavier than some of the metal bands. It just because it crossed over so much.
Yeah, because that's basically like, if you hear death metal bands and you hear the crust sounds, like those two seem to go well. Like I don't know, like a grilled cheese sandwich or something. I don't know. I'm trying to think of something.
Yeah, it does. I think so too. We played the only time I have been actually in England, I was in London, and I guess it was 4 years ago with Behind Enemy Lines, which is a crust punk band I've been in for about I guess it's about 18 years now, maybe a little bit longer. Listen. And it was what's that?
I'll give that band a listen.
Yeah, we haven't done anything in a while, but I think we're going to do something. We're going to do something soon here. But we came over and we played with Doom, and we played with a lot of old political punk bands like Anthrax, as in the Anthrax.
Yeah, the punk band Anthrax, not the thrash metal band.
Right, not the thrash metal band who did. I do think that the punk band, I'm quite certain that the punk band by name did predate the metal band. So, a few people were like, how could you not know about Anthrax? I was like, these guys, first of all, there was no internet. And I think these guys, I'm quite certain these guys were first. Guys and gals, these folks were first. And Liberty. And it was an amazing show, but playing with Doom and like watching them, you realize, like you said, again, being able to see live and being able to see that actual, like the way that English punk from the late 80s and parts of the 80s really was intertwined with, like bands like Doom and Bolt Thrower.
Doom, definitely, and Bolt Thrower, obviously. Right. I mean, they're not a punk band or the death metal, but they had that. But they all came from that scene anyway.
Exactly. Right. Yep. Totally. So it was kind of like, it was really fun to be able to see a lot of those bands, those English punk bands. But again, hearing that metal influence coming into play in some of the newer bands was like, there it is,
There we go.
People can say what they will about crossover and thrash and go back to, DRI and skate punk in like the mid 80s and things like that.
Suicidal tendencies.
Yeah, exactly. And it was, a lot of us loved it. It was a winning combination, and the two paths will always cross.
Yeah, and I listened to a lot of those death metal bands that mix crust with it because I saw a crust band with I've seen quite a few of them, but I saw Deviated Instinct 2 years ago because they played with Coffins from Japan.
Sure, makes sense.
And they're Coffins are very sludgy doom death doom even.
Right.
If you listen to their sound, it's very sludgy.
Yes. There's, they say it's nice to hear them, like people citing them as an influence too.
I love Coffins.
Yeah, it's kind of nice to hear. I hear a lot more these days of them getting specifically cited as an influence, and it's like, absolutely, heck yeah. Very cool.
Definitely. Yeah, Coffins. When I first heard them, I was just like, oh man, this is just filth, pure filth.
Yeah.
And I love it. Why can't I need to find more death metal bands like this. Undergang from Denmark.
Yeah.
They got that disgusting swampy sound.
Right.
As David Mickelson said when I had him on here, he called it swampy death metal. Because if you hear it, the guitars sound murky. His vocals sound, I don't want to say the word, but evil. Like most death metal vocalists, their vocals would be evil.
Perfectly acceptable.
And the bass is always not overly distorted. Like when I think a bass that's like overly distorted, I think Mortician. With Will's bass is always turned up.
Sure. That's great. That's a good call. I always think of Shane Embury when I
Shane
think
Embury
of
as well.
Bass. Yeah. That's some major distortion going on that.
Yeah, they both got. I think when I heard Will's one, it was just like a properly like.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry, am I supposed to hear something? Oh, that's part of the music. Obviously, it's death metal. And then hear his vocals is like, oh wow, these have gone of it, because I hear the early demos from Mortician to what they released after that, and his vocals just got gradually deeper and deeper and deeper.
Right.
Which is like, let's go back to the demo a minute. Oh, let's go back to this then. Okay, he's progressed. That's cool.
Are you a fan as vocals, as you're saying? How do you feel about who are your favorites? Since you brought up how, like, how vocalists transition over time as well.
My favorite vocalists. Well, we mentioned him earlier, LG Petrol, because I got to meet him at Bloodstock, which is a festival we have in the UK, one of the biggest metal festivals. And Entombed AD was there, and I got to actually meet him, get something signed and a picture. So that was cool. Not like a long conversation. Just like, oh, you're one of my favorite vocalists, and I can have a picture. He looked a bit confused what I was doing. He's just like, oh, camera. Just looked a bit confused. He's like, oh, he wants a picture. What about a beer instead? But anyway.
Well, I'm glad you captured the moment of your
capture the moment. Yeah. So I got a picture of him. Carl Willits.
Of course.
He's in memoriam now. And I got the new album. It's fantastic. Excellent. Who else do I like? Well, Will. I won't go as low as Will, but I like his vocals. Maybe not that low. I could go that low, but I'm not gonna. I'll leave that to Will. Who else do I like? I'm trying to think, because there's too many. Another one we lost, Brett Hoffman.
Yeah.
We lost him in 2018, and I got to see Metallica Creation in London. And he put out his fist so we can do like a fist bump. So that was cool. I got so many favorites.
Yeah.
Oh, Gregor McIntosh.
Oh.
When he did Valenfire. Because what I learned about Valenfire was he formed that band to deal with the death of his own father, because his father passed away. And that was his way of, dealing with it. Which is a good way. You can't just sit at home and cry. Got to find some way of dealing with it. And he formed the band. Yeah. But he was in Paradise Lost before that.
Yeah.
He was still in Paradise Lost, but he did that band and he was still doing Paradise Lost with that. But now Valenfire is not a band anymore. So, but I was thinking of bands with that pedal, the HM2 pedal. They use it. So there we go. So that's some of my favorite vocalists.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, everybody's got, like, again, I feel like everything's an influence. Sometimes it's not even musical, but but an influence can be a non-musical thing that finds its way in. It could be like an inspiration, an event. But we all have a few choice people that influenced us on our instruments, and hopefully we continue to be influenced as we hear new things and new old things.
Yeah.
There are. Wow, time marches on, and it just adds to the roster of new people of whom, by whom to be influenced.
Yeah, definitely. And for bass, because I play bass myself, because I'm playing bass in the folk metal band.
Yeah.
Cliff Burton has to be one of them for me.
Of course, sure, yes.
Because you said you started playing bass in '86, and obviously that's when he passed away.
Yes. Yeah, the first time I never got to see Metallica with Cliff. I saw them. The first time was
Jason Newsted.
Yeah, it was Jason Newsted, who I love, who I think is great. And I love Flotsam and Jetsam. I was, we can discuss the Metallica to me was, I didn't follow them past 1989. You
Yeah.
know, when they were getting ready to release. No, I say not. Yeah. Like 1988 was kind of the.
That's And Justice for All.
I wasn't a big fan of, but it's, you know, it's still arguable in the classifications of the band that I still liked. But that was kind of it.
I only like them from Kill Them All to the Black Album, basically. That's where I stop.
Yeah, it was just sort of, it wasn't, I didn't like what they were doing. Obviously, millions and millions and millions of people did, but I didn't like.
As soon as they played the old stuff, when I saw them live, I was just like, old stuff, yes. New stuff, not so much.
Yeah, sure.
So,
I don't know if I can do it, man. When people are like, can you go to...
I don't know either.
But the thing is, they're fine without me. They're like, they don't need me.
They don't need me. Fine, go.
From Pittsburgh, nobody to be there. So I can be like, yeah, you know what? I don't like to say negative things about people, but it's not going to hurt them to say I don't like their band anymore.
Yeah, because some would, like, if you wrote something on a blog, there's like, oh, I don't like this band. Some metalheads will do this. They'll literally go, how dare you say that? It's like me. I'll just be like, that's fair enough. Fair enough, and move on.
Sure, exactly. Opinions. I mean, I think there's, you know, there's so much to like. I don't see the need to focus on what you don't care for. It doesn't mean it's bad. It's just like it doesn't work for you. You know, it doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
Yeah, if it's like, you know, people review things. You know, people are. You know, and they'll say this is bad or this sucks. It's like, no, you don't like it, you know?
No,
it's like,
just, oh, my camera went. My camera does that sometimes. My camera does that. Might have to check that, but anyway.
What are you on? Are you on a phone? Are you on?
Oh, no, I'm on my laptop. My camera tends to do that sometimes.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
What cracks me up is it's like I can see the sun is at full, like the sun's over your left shoulder and it's like full blast now. And,
oh, that's my light.
Yeah. Oh, excellent. It looks like you're in.
It looks like the sun, but obviously I'm looking outside. It just looks miserable.
I thought that was like, okay, it's raining, but the sun is shining.
It does that sometimes. It rains, and then you get the sun blasting through.
I thought it was another window. I was like, oh, he's got all these nice windows.
I got these nice windows and sunshine. I'm sorry to say, it's not the sunshine. I wish it was.
But I figured it has to, just like what Eric from The Crow said, it can't rain all the time.
It can't rain all the time.
It can in England. So
can't rain all the time. I love that film as well.
We live in, yes, we live in the one of the rainiest cities in the States too, but today it's quite nice. So
cool. Where do you live?
This is Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Oh, you're still in Pittsburgh. I thought you might have moved.
Right across the state from Philly and on towards the, not East Coast, but towards the East Coast.
Oh, cool.
You know? But it's not the Midwest. Like people say, it's the Midwest. It is not. Mid-Atlantic, maybe.
No.
Yeah.
So,
it's a different.
Yeah, but because I mentioned another band earlier when I was introduced to you, and that's November's Doom.
Yes.
From Chicago, Illinois.
Yes, and Paul, I have to say, is one of the vocalists who. The thing that I always loved about Paul is you could understand what he was saying. He was able to master his vocals and with clarity that I had never heard before, and I will always give Paul credit for that.
Because I was listening to because I've heard someone like, I think my mate Alex here, who's in the folk metal band with me, I think he's put them on a few times, or someone else put them on. Or I heard his vocals and I was like, wow, I can understand what this guy's saying. And I heard the song, what's it called? My Agony, My Ecstasy, which is from their first album.
Yes.
And as soon as he says, like, the first line is swallow.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I can understand that perfectly.
Yeah, he had said he worked hard he wanted to be clear. He's like, I'm writing lyrics. I want people to understand them as best as I can, enunciate. And I'll just never forget
enunciate,
that. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of things I won't forget about those guys. I haven't unfortunately talked to them in such a long time, but they are awesome people and hard workers.
Yeah, I love to see the band live, even if they don't play anything from the first album. I'll still like to see them.
Yeah, sure. Yes.
Because I listen to that and then I listen to some bands like that. They develop their sound and I'm a bit like, I'll just go back to the earlier stuff. So I did that with My Dying Bride for a while, and then I heard the new album and I thought, it's remind me of the earlier stuff anyway, like Turn Loose the Swans and that as the Flowers Wither and all that. And November's Doom predate My Dying Bride because they formed in '89.
They did, yeah. They've been
And
around.
My Dying Bride was 1990.
Sure, yes. But there was always the reverse. There was always a reverse comparison. You know, not always, but people, you know how it is whenever people are sort of like operating within the same subgenre,
Definitely.
and people will always, there's always one band that seems to be, the most known, and then everybody gets compared to them. Um, but that was it. But November's Doom actually did predate My Dying Bride, but it's
Yeah.
all been, oh my gosh, I mean, again, starting a whole other, like when we're talking about the death doom genre, it's that it kind of kicked itself off there, when you had then Doom, as we were saying, with Lee Dorian, Rise Above Records, actually kind of bringing a lot more light to a lot of amazing bands, and then
Definitely.
some genres within the genre,
Yeah.
and the Death Doom generation would have been what, late '80s to early '90s.
Yeah, Paradise Lost as well. They were '88, so they predate November's Doom.
Exactly. So it's pretty amazing, and
It's mental.
and Melvins were crushing it still.
And they were just like, oh, we like this, let's mix it.
Yeah.
Well, oh, there's punk, oh, there's metal, let's mix it.
Yeah.
It's like it's mental how the Melvins just mixed everything. But before we carry on with November's Doom, I was going to talk about the name Mythic. Who came up with that?
Oh, I think it was either Dana or Eric, who was Dana's boyfriend at the time. That came from their camp.
Okay, I was meant to ask that as soon as we started talking about Mythic. I was like, okay.
It's funny because at the time it was so difficult to name a band. I can only now when we try, we've always have new projects that everybody does, especially through the last year, like we said, which has been really tragic. So as we sort of press on, a lot of people started some new projects because we were home. And man, I didn't realize until then how hard it was to try to come up with a name for a project. Everybody all over the world. Now you really know too. But now there's no excuse for pilfering somebody else's band name, because with one internet search, they exist.
They exist.
There's 5 bands named something. I'm like, no, that's not. But yeah, naming bands is very difficult these days.
It is.
It was tough back then.
It is quite difficult. Okay, my mic's coming through now. I know. I swear I put my microphone down so it wouldn't go through your screen. Oh no, it's fine now. That's fine.
Oh, good, excellent. Because you're sounding great over here.
Yeah, I had to turn my sound down from my end, so on my speakers. And now getting back to November's Doom, I'm looking at the first was EP, the first thing you ever appeared on with them, and that's Forever Left That Falls, or Leaf That Falls. Leaf.
Yep, that's it. For every leaf that falls. Yes.
I was reading there's something else. I'm stupid. There we go.
No, not at all. I mean, you never know how it's going to translate over the websites and whatnot. But yeah, that was what it was titled, For Every Leaf That Falls.
Every Leaf That Falls. And did you have fun doing that?
Yeah, it was great. They're as human beings outside of the band, I think people would be, I don't know, some of the funniest, nicest, coolest people are the people that seem the darkest and the heaviest, So we had a great time. I had an amazing time with those guys,
Yeah, brilliant.
There was that, and of Sculptured Ivy and Stone Flowers, and the Knowing. I got to play on all 3 of those. Tons of fun. Yeah, it was great.
I probably took my lighting up on my end of the camera, so it was probably a bit blurry. And the Knowing, which is from the year 2000.
Yeah.
So that's 21 years old thereabouts. Well, November it'll be 21 years old.
Yeah, that was recorded right before I moved back to Pittsburgh, which was the hardest part about leaving Chicago, was leaving my friends in November's Doom. But it took them a while to find a solid, a bass player that was able to sort of meet the time and meet the schedule. So there were a couple of times where I went from Pittsburgh to certain gigs and still filled in and played. And I remember we played at one of the Milwaukee Metal Fests. I'm assuming it was in 2000 or 2001. And, you know, Paul's like, you know, you want to come up and play the show? I was like, yeah, I'll come up and play that show.
Yeah.
And hadn't played the songs in a year and a half and hadn't practiced them. And I just remember being up there and I was really happy because I was thinking, I can't believe I remember these songs, you know, like I had all this time to prepare, but in typical Mary fashion, you know, and at that point I was just like, ooh, so we had one practice before and it went fine. So, you know.
That's good.
Yeah,
it's good that you remember the songs, otherwise you would have been on stage like,
yeah, totally.
Fuck.
I mean, ever since I'm the queen of the cramming, so it's like, you know, I'm just, everything's done at the 11th hour and on the fly. So, you know.
That's mental. And did you know him before joining the band? Did you ever meet him when you were in Mythic?
You know, Paul, no, Paul and Joe Nunez, who played drums on some of the November's Doom records and was in the band for some time, and Larry, who was one of the guitar players who's been in the band for a long time now. He wasn't the original guitar player in November's Doom, but they were in a band together called Neurotoxin, who I loved. So those guys, I knew some of the guys that eventually we all ended up playing in November's Doom, but Paul, I did not meet until I think it was 97, from their former bass player. And he's like, hey, you want to, I had moved to Chicago for a bit and I was just going to take a break from playing and met Paul and was like, sure, these guys are awesome. Let's have some fun. So
that's cool. So I'm guessing Paul's a very nice person to get on with.
I think he's hilarious.
Oh, that's good then, because I might actually get on with him then. If he's hilarious.
He's very like, you know, he doesn't take himself too seriously. He takes what he does seriously, and he puts a lot of thought and passion behind what he does. But he's also, you know, he's a big comic book lover. You know, he's a great graphic designer, and he's funny. You know, he has a great attitude. So it definitely, I think that it is possible to, you know, to be multifaceted with your feelings and your emotions. You know, it's sort of it's I think it's kind of cool when you meet somebody that you might think is super heavy and intense 24/7, and you realize that's just part of their personality.
That's just,
you know?
yeah, and
it's just as real as everything else. You know, it's not. It's 100% legit.
Yeah, you can't take yourself too seriously. I mean, if you're in a band, you got to take that seriously because you're on tour or you're making an album or whatever. But you can't take yourself too seriously. If you take yourself too seriously in life, then I think you're just going to go nowhere.
You end up hurting yourself in the long run.
And you end up hurting yourself.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a lot of unnecessary stress. You know, you can be 100% committed and love something without taking it too seriously to the point of, you know, any wrench that gets thrown in the program, you know, causes a collapse or a breakdown. You know,
Definitely.
You got to roll with the punches to some degree if you're going to do this stuff. Like, I admire so much people, and not the non-pandemic related stuff, but, you know, I admire people that create at home and they do wonderful, wonderful things, but being on the road and traveling as a band is a different animal, you know.
Definitely.
So you have to learn to roll with the punches. Yeah, you're gonna, like we were talking, it's full circle to what we said with the first show that you're ever gonna play. You know, expect problems.
Nerve-wracking.
You might forget things. Your sound might be weird. You might not have sound. You know, you might not have a backline. I mean, who gets monitors? Come on, please.
Yeah, because I went to a show at the Griffin, which is the #1 metal pub here in Bristol.
I've heard about it, yes.
Awesome. Also, whenever you can come to Bristol, go to it because it's a fucking nice pub. I know the owner. I think like Paul from November's Doom, he doesn't really take himself that seriously. I watched a stream where he was with another mate of ours and he was already pissed, you know, drunk. Yeah. We say pissed, but he was already shit-faced. That's the word.
Yes, different.
It's absolutely funny like that because you just say random things and make random noise, and it's just like, oh, John. But yeah, it's the #1 metal pub. We've had bands there. We've had Defeated Sanity and I don't know, we've had all sorts of bands out. Undergang for one, played
Great.
there,
Awesome.
and a lot of the local bands. And there was one show that they did. It was a mate of mine's band called Seprivation. It's just death thrash. You might.
Cool.
Well, I'll send you some stuff. I've been saying that to people. I'll send stuff over. I keep forgetting because I'm stupid.
There's my friend Dave. I have a friend a friend of mine in England, Dave, and I have had a package for Dave for, I think it's 4 years. I've had a package for Dave for 4 years. When I said Dave Quayle, my friend Dave.
I don't think I know him.
Okay, he's a Tildesley guy. He's awesome.
I might have seen him, but I don't know.
He is a wonderful human being. And Dave, if you're watching this, I still have your package in the corner and ready to go. 4 years. How does this happen? So don't ever worry. I don't know.
I don't know.
Saying you will send something, send me a link. I'll check the bands out. I think that's perfect.
Yeah, I'll do it. Well, obviously I do it via Instagram because you're not on Facebook.
I'm not on Facebook anymore, no. And I feel like I'm missing a lot of
You're
contact.
not missing too much.
Well, I'm missing some amazing contact with some amazing people, but I'm also dodging so many bullets, as they would say, by the, especially with the way things have been going here. I'd like to say over the last 4 years, but it's really been forever, to think that we, we or the world has only been having problems for 4 years is absurd. And but I know that there's been a lot of strife,
Yeah, a lot of strife and
yes,
a lot of madness. And yeah, but again, going back to the Griffin here in Bristol is a great pub.
Great.
If you're ever here, go visit it. I will most likely, actually, I will be there.
There will be no strife and there will be no stress.
And there'll be no stress. Not in that place. You just go there, have a pint, chat to people, and listen to metal. And now in Bristol, we got a heavy metal record shop opening.
Yes.
It's actually going to be up the road from the Griffin, on that same road, because there's a bit where cars can park up. And it's called Black City Records.
Great.
And it's someone that I know who was he's still a big death metal fan, and he saw Dismember back in the day in London when Pieces had that problem with UK borders and all that stuff because of its cover, all the severed heads on it.
Sure, yes.
And probably something else to do with it, but the severed heads was probably the first thing they're like, no.
Yeah.
It's death metal.
As somebody that doesn't understand,
And I've had Fred on here.
Yeah, I'm sure phone calls had to be made.
Yeah, phone calls had to be made. I've had Fred on here. He explained all the bits where they had to go to the court and then go back to the hotel and get changed and then go to the venue and then play a show. Which was just, I don't think I could deal with that if I was a band. It's like, it's just a cover.
Yeah, it's definitely, some things leave their marks, and that definitely left its mark. I mean, the band obviously did, but I mean,
that's just mental.
Yeah.
And I was going to mention some other bands that Mythic played with before we carry on with November's Doom and then Derkéta. Or Derkéta, I'm not sure how you say it in the UK. I've not really heard anyone.
Either or works.
Either one works. And you played another festival, I think it was around 91, 92. It was the Cleveland Death Fest.
Yes.
And that was with Rocktrevor, which I don't think a lot of people know.
Yeah.
And at one point during the set, you went to the microphone, and obviously you guys being from Pittsburgh and all you guys being from Cleveland, you said something about hockey or something. And he was like, it was like 10 points or something. Come on.
It's definitely, it's funny you say that. I forgot about that because it's just sort of like, I think going back to the not taking yourself too seriously, we were
booed you.
It was a smaller scene. Even if a show was packed, it was a smaller scene. So you pretty much, you knew so many people. Everything was an inside joke, and everybody was so supportive of one another. So you get get to a point sometimes if the right person is like in front of you or the right friend, it just changes the whole motif.
You just said that out of nowhere and people started booing you for it. It's like, come on.
It was like, yeah, definitely.
Was it hockey? Was it a hockey game? Basketball?
Sure,
What was it?
was hockey. I mean, if you're talking Pittsburgh and Cleveland, though, you're talking generally the Cleveland Browns.
Yep.
And you're talking about, the Pittsburgh Steelers, which is American football.
Yeah.
But as far as hockey goes, Pittsburgh's got the hockey team, Buffalo's got the hockey team, Columbus then later had a hockey team, but everybody came from somewhere that had a hockey team. Even if you were in, a place like Cleveland that did not have a hockey team, but it was, we were, and I keep in mind with the shows, though, the fest like that too was like people did. Some place like Cleveland is, easy access for people, easy enough access for Chicago, Cincinnati, Toledo, Erie, Toronto, PA. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't. There's a lot of within 6 hours. There are a lot of like other major cities, so it was nothing for people to drive down for a show like that. Yeah. So that's where you would usually get your.
Yeah, it was just. I just heard. I thought that okay, that's pretty funny.
We were rabid. Terry still is. We were rabid hockey fans. At the time.
And it's the Pittsburgh Penguins. Pittsburgh Penguins.
Yeah, definitely. That's us.
Yeah, I was just like, I heard that. I was just like, this has to be hockey because it's not American football. It's not the NBA. It's not baseball. So it's got to be hockey.
Yeah, it sure was.
So, and I was looking at that set as well. And I don't know if it was a part of your set, but there was like an altar set up.
There was also, I think, was that where there was a coffin?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that there was that show, the show we played with Human Remains, with Dave, who's been a drummer for tons of bands, amazing drummer, and Municipal Waste. He's in and still in. I think he's standing behind one of the amps, and I was happy at how, and I was happy and excited at how enthusiastic he was about it all. I think there's the coffin, and I could be wrong. I would have to watch it, and I think you can see him behind one of the amps. And I was like,
yeah, I just saw it and thought, is that got to do with their set, or was that another band's?
No, it was there. It's there the whole time.
It was just something that was there for every single band's set.
It was kind of there for the whole, but I can't remember who was the perpetrator of having it. I think it was there the whole time. That's.
Yeah, I was looking at Rochevore. I think I saw it during their set as well. It was there.
Yeah.
I was just like, why is there a coffin and an altar and is someone gonna die?
There was a bunch of bands playing, and I think that was part of the motif.
I just saw it and thought, okay, that's not too out of the ordinary, but okay. Someone's gonna pop out of that coffin and just kill everybody.
Well, how did somebody not? I know that's my only regret. It's like I didn't get in it and wait for somebody to play it come out.
Just go boom.
Yeah, ambush somebody from the coffin.
Like,
from the stage.
boom, motherfuckers. It's like, I'll just be like this. I am not amused. Not amused, mate. Not amused. But no, I just thought, since we talked about Mythic, I thought, shit, I forgot to mention that show.
Yeah, that's definitely, that was a thing. And it's funny, those two things that you mentioned. If I talk to somebody who caught that, on YouTube or whatever, they're like, those are usually the two things. Like, were you wearing a Penguins jersey, or what did you say about sports? And then
what did you say about the Cleveland team?
Yeah.
What did you say about Cleveland?
Yeah.
Nothing. Just saying we kicked your ass at hockey. That's all.
Yeah. Cleveland, it was weird because a lot of the hockey fans in Cleveland were Penguins fans because we were one of the closer teams to them.
Bloody hell.
They didn't have it, but.
Oh, well, that explains it. No. And I think everyone was just booing you, just have a bit of fun.
Oh yeah, like I said, everybody was, any excuse to like bust somebody's chops was,
Bust someone's chops. We call it taking the piss.
Yeah, it is exactly same thing. people enjoy it just as much over here and did back then. So much to my chagrin,
That was I just thought I'd bring it up because it was just a funny moment at a death metal show.
It's so silly,
It's just silly. And I don't know how many bands can do that nowadays, but hopefully they still can.
I hope they can, and I think they should.
They should.
Yeah.
And going back to November's Doom, you in that band from 1997 to 2002, was it?
It would be sort of like, again, it was a little bit loose. I had moved back to Pittsburgh in the fall of 2000. So
that's when you did.
Yeah. And then, again, there were a couple of shows where that they had played that they were like, can you want to, they weren't like, can you? They're like, do you want to come and play? So I was like, sure, I'd love to see you guys.
We'll play.
Yeah. So I don't know if how that would technically put my years, but definitely was a good solid 3 years.
I don't know. I just went on Metal Archives and it said you there from 97 to 2002. So
yeah, I guess that's I think that's generous, but somewhat accurate.
Might have been just 2000.
Yeah.
So 98, 99, 2000, 3 years.
Yeah, I think maybe 2000, summer of 2001 might have been the last show that I played with them. But
either way, it was in the 2000s.
Yes, yeah, they moved on, and and all was well. So. And
they all changed their sound. Every band changed their sound because they were first album just pure fucking death doom, and then later on they kind of went for that more like Paradise Lost. I was going to say My Paradise Lost. That doesn't sound right. Paradise Lost. My Dying Bride went with that gothic sound.
I like that mashup that you did, though.
If it was a tour, it'd be called My Paradise Lost.
Make it. Maybe one day it'll happen.
Who knows? It might happen, and I will be at every show. Hopefully. Yeah. I say hopefully. It's probably not going to happen, but. Because you've had fun in that band. Mythic, of course, you had fun in, even though it only lasted a year. Played in November's Doom for like 2, 3, maybe 4 years.
Yeah.
Because he did albums and filled in.
Right.
You have Behind Enemy Lines, which you said is more crust.
Yep. Political crust. Penance.
You do. Yes. The only Doom band.
Uh-huh.
And the other band you're now in, and I think you joined them in 2002 or somewhere around there, Derkéta. And was Terry still in the band when you joined, or did she leave by then?
Well, it was always Sharon was the big Terry and Sharon started it, and Sharon was always the consistent. So it never stopped. Sharon was always operating in some format, and Sharon's a really, really awesome and true person to what she likes to do. Definitely not the kind of person that just wants to put something out to put it out. So she would wait until there was something that she wanted to do that she liked, and then she would proceed with it. So it was really, I think, more about friendship and getting back together. That it was actually it was a little bit before that. I think we're talking 2000. Oh gosh.
I'm making you think now. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you know what? I'm trying to think like officially, like it would be more towards like the later of the first decade of the 2000s that we actually like everyone got together. And Robin, who was in Demonomacy, and she's in Gruesome and Castrator. So we've all been friends since we were, teenagers, going back to those first Derkéta days. And so it was more like, hey, let's do this. This would be, why not? And Sharon was like, why don't you come back and play? And I said, well, great. She goes, well, Robin's going to play bass. So I was like, what am I going to do? And she's like, play guitar. And I was like, well, it'll be something new and different. So sure. And it definitely is a challenge, picking up an instrument. I'm sure most people feel that way when they pick up an instrument that's not their natural instrument.
Yeah. That was me with bass.
Yeah.
Actually, in my first band, I didn't play bass at all. And I just went in because there was a bunch of mates of mine who formed the band, and they said, "Here's our new bass player." And I'm like, I don't know how to play bass. I'm just playing like a guitar, just get a pick and play that way. But now in the folk metal band, I do it the way the bass is supposed to be played. Or you can play it any way you want. But then people are like, nah, you got to do the traditional way with the fingers.
That's interesting to me though too, because there are so many great. I play with my fingers. I always have. Despite I think maybe one year I was using a pick, and it was the first time I joined a thrash band at like 18.
For thrash, yeah, definitely. Because
I was a big fan at the time too, so it was like, but I've always been a finger player. But I mean, there is no there's no
traditional way of doing it. It's just
and since the inception of the electric bass, people used both formats. It was pick, plectrum, or fingers.
Yeah.
So definitely, and think about all the great pick players. One being Christopher Squire from Yes.
Jason Newsted, he plays a pick.
Totally amazing. I mean, totally. So it's some do. You're right though. Some people do feel it should be one way, it should be other, but whatever you're comfortable with that works for you, that's what you do.
And also, it depends what band you're in.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm also got a doom band with the same mate who's in the folk metal band with me. The band's called Bewitchment.
Nice, great
And
name.
it's going to be like the Salem Witch Trials sort of thing. And I'm going to do either pick or finger playing. I don't want to say finger playing because it just sounds like something else. I'm not going to go there. Yeah, I'm just saying it might sound like something else. Of like he said, finger playing. Shut up. Or if it's a thrash metal band, you get all those. It's like, no, this makes more sense. Play with a pick. Tom Arroyo, for example. Sure. He played a pick with bass. So, and David Vincent, who Morbid Angel, he played it with a pick. Mm-hmm. Even though I have seen him do finger playing.
There are a ton of pick players, and it's like I said, you do what works.
Do what you want.
Yeah, do what works and get the sound you want. I always felt playing with, finger playing bass. You could adjust your tone, play closer to the bridge. You can replicate a percussive sound if you want to have a heavier slap on it. You can tighten it up by playing closer to the bridge. So I always felt that there was more diversity with playing with fingers, but whatever works for you.
Whatever works. And again, depends what band you're in. If it's a grindcore band, it makes perfect sense because you're playing notes at whatever mile an hour.
Totally, exactly.
Note per minute.
And however you want to get your sound, go for it. It's
Shane Embry, again, he's a pick player. Mm-hmm. And when I've seen him play bass live, he's like he's ripping the string apart. It looks like it.
You have to ask him, whenever you meet him, be like, how many sets of strings do you go through? Like, how often?
Sets of strings.
Yeah.
Because I might look at the bottom E string, which is at the top, which is weird. It's like bottom E strings at the top, but then the high E strings at the bottom of the bass. So it's like,
yes,
that's weird. Yeah. But it's like, how many strings do you go through a day? Probably like, I don't know.
Especially if people are more prone to like utilizing. Everybody utilizes one string more than the other. Some people it's the A, the second string. Some people it's the E, like you said, the bottom, the lowest. Yeah. Or in the case of a 5-string, or a B, or if you tune to C. But
either way.
If you're not beating it to death, you can really get some mileage out of those strings.
Yeah, and I think I've seen some bass players break that string, and I'm like, I understand breaking the high E string on electric guitar, but I've also seen the bottom E string break on guitars. And I'm like, okay, how does that work?
Well, that's when you have to ask them, be like, do you need to dial it back? Or
just dial it back. What are you doing?
Change that string, and it was just like, I can't hold on any longer. And it just
I can't do it.
Yeah, and it can be dangerous.
It's dangerous, man.
For the
and it's just, I mean, I've broken one of the high E strings on one of my guitars before, and I was just like, no. But I know I can fix it. Nowadays, it's like, shit, fix it.
Yeah.
It's like, if I did that, if I was in a band, did that, I'm like,
You start to get really good at changing strings quickly, but
Yeah, because one of my mates, Gaz, or his name's Gareth, what everyone calls him Gaz. He's in a band here called Body Harvest, death metal. They got 2 albums out so far. He has a 7-string guitar, and it's a whammy. It's got a whammy bar on it.
Yeah.
And when he uses it, sometimes the strings will just go out of tune. So then he had to borrow one of our other mates, Jake, who's one of the other guitarists and vocalists in the band, and borrow one of his guitars, which is the 7-string Jackson models with no whammy bar on it.
Oh yeah, big difference.
Because Gaz uses one with Ibanez on it. the Ibanez ones, and it just went out of tune, or one of the strings came out or whatever, and it's just like, but enough about guitar malfunctions and
it's great. I like you. I thank you for sharing that. I like gear talk. It's always tons of fun. So
yeah, I'm always trying to figure out all the gear and the pickups on the guitars. It's like, what's this pickup called? I don't bloody know. It's just a pickup. I'm not that tech savvy. I can barely edit my podcast.
We're all still figuring it out. Trust me.
It's a learning curve. So, and one of my favorite bass players, again, I can't play like him. That's Alex Webster from Cannibal Corpse.
Great, amazing.
He's a finger player, and he's always played it that way.
Yeah, you know, the cool thing about Alex Webster too is that's somebody that like really made a commitment to wanting to like be a you know, really committed to becoming more proficient in his own eyes over the years. You know, like he's like, I think I could be better. I think I could be better. I think he could be better. And I mean, holy smokes. You know, that's you know, I think his specifically his dedication to his instrument is like speaks volumes.
Yeah, and I got to meet him as well.
Yeah.
Nice guy, really right? Nice guy in person. Yeah. He chats to you like you've been friends with him for years.
He's a good dude. Yeah.
He's very down to earth. When I was getting from him, he was just very chilled.
Yeah.
And I was just like, once I got that picture done, it's like, well, I can die happy now. That's fine.
Yeah, I think that, you know what, he's a great person. You know,
because you got to play with Cannibal Corpse back in the day.
Yeah, definitely. Always was a nice guy. All those guys were nice guys.
Yeah, because they had, because the original lineup was obviously Paul and Alex are still in the band, but at that time it was Chris Barnes,
yeah,
Jack Owen, and Bob Rousset.
Yeah, right.
What was Bob like?
Oh, Bob was nice. Bob was like, you know, it was kind of like they were just all committed to doing what they were doing. I mean, but you know, it was, you know, they were in Buffalo at the time, and they were really,
yeah, because
I don't know, yeah, ever since I've known them, which would have been probably 1990, they were just really, you know, really focused, but
seeing
nice.
Bob on stage, he was always headbanging, even though out of all of them, he had less blonde hair than everybody else.
Yeah, his hair wasn't the longest of.
He was balding. We'll say it. He was balding, but I don't think that stopped him. He still headbanged like anything, and he was the most hench one, the most like well built one, because he looked like he lift weights on a regular basis. If you look at those, if people look at his shows, his shirts are always sleeveless because he's got massive arms.
I think he did. Yeah, and he's still. I obviously haven't. I don't know if anyone has talked to him. I mean,
no, I don't think anyone's seen him since he left Cannibal Corpse.
Yeah, and I think he's always been. He's been an athletic person. I think he was an athletic person back in the day. Right.
So I guess he was nice to chat to and get on with and just chill out with. I guess. I don't know. I never met him.
Yeah, down to earth. You know, that whole camp was down to earth. You know, I mean, I didn't know Chris Barnes, but I think Paul and Jack and everybody, you know, and it sounds, I don't mean for it to sound showy. It was just a small scene, you know, at the
small
time.
Scene, not that big.
You know, everybody wrote to somebody. Everybody was a pen pal with somebody or tape traded with somebody. So it was just, everybody knew or knew of each other.
Yeah.
And I came in on the later side of things, you know, like again, from people like Terry and Sharon and Don, you know, I came
going back to Derkéta
years after the fact. So it was, but yeah, those guys were always super down to earth.
Are you still in contact with Dana and Terry, or not so much?
No, Terry, I talk to constantly.
Awesome.
Yes, I have not talked to Dana. It's been a really long time.
Are you still friends with her?
We're very different people.
Okay.
Yeah, we're very different people. I don't expect that. That's
well, we won't get into that, but you're in contact with Terry. Let's focus on that, because
Terry and I talk, you know, constantly.
That's good to hear, because
do all kinds of nuttiness together. So
that's good to hear, even though she's not doing much music nowadays.
Not right now. No, she always plays, but she's just not, you know, just isn't necessarily involved in a band.
Because she hasn't done anything since Mythic and Derkéta, really.
Right. I mean, there's always been like there have been projects on the side, and there have been times that she just, truly played drums because she loved playing drums.
Yeah.
So like no need necessarily for a stage
No,
or
that's
anything
all.
like that. But
Yeah.
so in that way, and again, and I'm not saying anything about those of us who do pursue, you know what I mean, that play and whatnot and play live and things like that. But she's still she's still involved in her own rights and her own ways. But
yeah, I'm guessing her playing live, she's got that out of her system.
She's definitely like always still a big fan of drumming, picks it up once in a while.
That's good.
But yeah, definitely. I think it's always the type of thing that she always had a different level that she wanted to achieve and she wanted to get to as a musician. So yeah, it kind of of an intimate relationship with the instrument. I guess.
That's good because she's actually a really good drummer when you listen to her play.
We made her be in a Cramps cover band. We did a
Cramps.
it was and I had to be Poison Ivy.
Nice.
Which was fun, but once again, I'm not a guitar player, so whatever it was, I think I had a Fender, a Gretsch, and a Fender twin reverb, and I can't remember what type of pedal that I had, but it was just something we do a lot of fundraising and grassroots fundraising for around town, and so the easiest thing is like, hi, here comes Halloween, pick a band to be that band. So we talked Terry into drumming for our Cramps cover band called Flux Inferior. Yes.
Brilliant.
So it was like, it was a blast.
That's awesome. I'll show the CD again if no one knows who Terry is. Well, this is a picture of her back in the 90s. There she is.
She is.
And of course, Terry.
Hanging out on Mount Washington, looking
like I love death metal, but I'm gonna look sexy in this picture.
It was not intentional. It was more like
obviously it's not intentional, but when you look at it, obviously
it was what that's what I don't like, not smiling for pictures. I think everybody looks absurd. Unless some people naturally can have sort of like a stoic face and it looks chill, but everybody else either looks mad or like they're trying to say something.
Get the picture up again. You look like you mean business.
Yeah, it was.
And your hair's much longer then than it is now.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Much longer then.
Yeah, it's definitely.
And very dark.
Well, when I started working on cars, I realized it was easier to have shorter hair.
It's like, nope.
Yes, yeah. Don't need that getting stuck in an engine,
It's like, uh-oh.
Right.
Like, you don't want that, or just tie it back, but then most people who have long hair don't tie it back.
No, that's true. But braids work well in a lot of circumstances.
Braids work?
Motorcycle riding, mechanics, any sort
that's
of
cool.
Work,
that's cool. Yeah, so you keep in contact with Terry, that's great.
Oh yes, totally.
Because I looked at a picture of her on the Metal Archives. She's wearing a Gojira shirt, and I'm like, yes, I love Gojira.
She's a big fan. She is a big fan. Yes, huge.
I'd have to talk to her about Gojira. That would just be it.
Definitely. Oh, she's Terry. Like again, Terry and Sharon were
Sharon.
They were both both being from Derkéta, not Mythic, but even though Terry was in Mythic as well, but they were really ahead of the curve. But just rabid
what they were doing.
Big time. They were just going to shows and bouncing all over the place as teenagers. I mean, we all were, but again, like I said, mine was more. I was more into punk, and then eventually got into heavier thrash in high school. A lot of our friends kind of went the other way. They got into metal and then got into punk in high school. I don't know how that works.
I don't know how it works. I mean, I got into metal at school because one of my brother's mates got me into Pantera.
There's always
and Metallica and Slayer.
Yep. You have your gate. Everyone's got their generational gate.
And Sabbath. And Motorhead and Judas Priest and Iron Maiden and all those bands.
Right.
Being from Britain, love those bands.
Yeah, I mean, we always say, how did you guys, when you look at the size comparison between, you guys and a lot of other places, we're like, man, a lot of really great bands. I don't know what it is.
Bands, yeah. Onslaught being the biggest one from Bristol.
Yeah. Wait, who's the biggest from Bristol?
Onslaught.
Gotcha. Yep. Awesome. Awesome. That's classic. You know, that's the real deal. So
Yeah, definitely great band. I know the ex-vocalist, not their first one, the one after Psychealer, who still lives in Bristol.
awesome.
Yes, he doesn't. He lives in a different part to Bristol than I do. I could literally walk to where he lives. It'd take me a while because it's quite a distance, but there you go. But they were a hardcore punk band before they were thrash metal.
And like I said, there was a lot of people I know that were super punk that, you know, eventually like sort of got into metal. But a lot of the people I know did it the other way around. They were super into like Venom and Motorhead, and then got more into like Black Flag and, you know, Kennedys and stuff like that. Or then you had your straight edge bands, and that was its own thing, you know.
Straight edge, yeah.
Minor Threats and whatnot. Yeah.
And there's all those different bands. Now let's get back to Derkéta before we go more into more bands, because we're just going to name bands at this point.
We could go way down.
We can go for ages about all the bands that we know. There'll be bands that Mary knows I don't know. There'll be bands I know that Mary doesn't know. So we can go on forever and ever, and we'll then forget what the hell we're talking about.
I'm in comfy clothes. I'm good, you know.
And what's the t-shirt you're wearing?
Oh, this is what am I wearing? This is Appalachian Terror Unit, which is friends of ours. Doesn't matter that they're friends of ours, but they are awesome people. They were originally from West Virginia, which is a little bit more Appalachia than Pennsylvania is. So it's a political punk band on Profane Existence, which is a traditionally very dedicated political punk label. Originally, well, in Minneapolis, as I knew them all the years, but Chris from Appalachian, from ATU, is actually has taken over Profane Existence.
Cool.
And so, yeah, so I guess, you know, more in the metal world, we would be considered label mates, but also friends, and played a lot of shows with Behind Enemy Lines. So it's like political crust heavy. It's great.
Yeah, and I'm wearing Grave Me Asthma from London.
Oh gosh, I was just gonna ask. I was like, let's compare and contrast shirts.
They're like death black metal. The death metal band, but they got those black metal elements because some guitar riffs make sound a bit black metal. Not the vocals, the guitars mainly. And one of my mates, Tom, used to play in a death metal band called Hellsworn, which was very Swedish inspired. He's the bassist in the band.
Great.
And
multi-talented.
Yeah, I was just like, so how long have you been in this band for? I was like, well, I played with him at Netherlands Death Fest 2 in 2017. I was like, what? How did I not know this?
Yeah, well, like again, this time it's, you know, if you have the time to catch up, well, we're still waiting for things to be safe and for things to be, you know, whatnot. You can do a little bit, you know, talk to your buds, and you can do a little bit of YouTube, some of those great bands that hopefully you'll get to see whenever.
Hopefully when this all blows over, we'll go back to gigs and festivals.
I know.
Watch bands, buy some merch, get some beer, blah blah blah, all those things. Everybody knows.
I know. It's the discussion we've been having. Like I said, it's sort of like I feel sort of there's a bit of guilt because, you know, there are a lot of people that have. I definitely have not suffered through this time as much as some people have suffered a lot through this time.
Yeah.
So it's always, you know, hard to you know, say, well, it's, you know, take this time to do this and that. You know, when it's like, hey, you know, the most important thing is have a roof over your head, heat, be safe, stay well, take care of each other, regardless of species, regardless of it. Yeah, like everybody take care of each other. So. Yep, serve, do everything that you can. So, you know, that being said, it's like, you know, those of us that have access to the internet. Yeah, well, yes, there she is again. There's LG Katra. She already though she tore down my vegan.
Oh yeah, the flag's gone down.
Yeah, she's
bloody thing.
Anytime there's a flag, the vegan flag is up. She's
like, nope.
Yes.
We're don't like that flag.
We're gonna have words about this.
Yeah, words now. Yeah. So yeah, well, and I think being in metal music as well, we all band together, even though we're on different sides of the globe. Right. Yes. I mean, I'm here in England, you're there in America, but we're chatting this way and chatting about all these bands and chatting and learning so much from you from your days in Mythic, Derkéta. Well, you're still in Derkéta anyway.
Well, likewise with you, though. I mean, you're teaching me stuff. It's like there's a lot of information out there. Just because you don't know of a band or know of a genre doesn't mean you're any less a lover of the, less dedicated, but there's a lot of information. So, keep trading information.
That's the main thing. I'm trying to tell people about bands that they don't know. Like I mentioned, Separation, Body Harvest. There's my other mate's band, Embodiment, DS Holocostum, who are just absolutely brilliant. All my mates in the Bristol bands are brilliant, amazing people. It's just shame I can't see him in person at the moment. I mean, I did get to see one of my mates because he works for a brewery.
You know what? That sounds like
it's like metal and beer. Yes,
a solid gig. Yeah, it sounds like a good gig.
Because I ordered beer from the place he works for, and I didn't know who my delivery driver was going to be. Open a door and I just saw him. I was like, ah.
That's amazing. Yeah. What it was, talk about a happy accident or synchronicity. Who knows?
No, I was just happy to see him because I hadn't seen him since that album launched in 2020, January 2020, because they released the debut. So, again, I'll get all these bands. I'll send you links. Sorry, what are you saying?
When did they release? Oh, that's okay. When did they release their debut? 2020, did you say?
Yeah, January of 2020.
Oh, great. Oh, okay. So they've got a year and some months under their belt. That's
great. It's a great album, and I released an album with a band that I'm in called Herbicidal, which is on the Stone at Doom side.
Wow.
And the album's called And Nothing Was Achieved.
Well,
we didn't know what to call it. We were going to call it like Toke Throning or something.
Nothing was achieved, but it wasn't for lack of trying.
Wasn't that for trying? The only thing we achieved 2019 was a gig at our mate's 30th and then a gig at the Griffin.
That's great. Yeah, but
so summer and autumn.
Great, like you said, greatest venue. So you got that under your belt, which is great. And somebody's 30th. That's like the biggest, one of the biggest reasons to celebrate.
Yeah, definitely.
Celebrate the people you care about, and if I remember correctly, turning 30, which was a very long time ago, those are the days that you're thinking, hey man, I'm 30, it's all over.
Yeah, I'll be 30 in November.
But 30 is a stressful time for a lot of people. I don't know what it is, but
I don't know. I don't know what mine's going to be, but I'm probably going to drink too much.
just stay as safe as you can. It's going to be fine.
I'm probably just going to go too stressed, drink too much.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm kind of losing it here.
You don't want to make yourself sick.
I don't want to make myself sick, and I have done that. It's not nice.
Yes, we all have. I think we all have.
We all have. So anyone watching, you've made yourself sick from drinking too much booze. It happens. I remember my first beer.
Yes. Yeah, I no longer drink, but I remember when I.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Well, you get to a point where some of us can't. Some of us can't hang as far as the being in bands and having to get up first thing in the morning for to make a living isn't always the easiest thing to do. And as those times get earlier and earlier and earlier, when I started to work on cars and then I had to be up and I had to be in the shop at the ungodly hour of 7:30 in the morning, I was like, you know what, I cannot tie one on and get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and make it to work. I just decided, meh. And you know what? It's totally fine. I'm the happy designated driver now.
It's fine.
Yes, and I'm able.
It's going to probably be me in I don't know how long, but I'm still gonna. I mean, when I'm going to festivals, when I do turn 30 and I go to festivals, it's going to probably be a lot more. I'm going to feel a lot more rough if I drink too much. I'm just going to crawl out of my tent like I'm dying.
Yeah, I don't think anybody ever. The one thing I can remember is I don't think anybody ever really intentionally or rarely intentionally says, and I'm going to get myself so incapacitated that I am going to feel awful tomorrow morning. It just happens.
It just happens. I don't plan it. It just happens. Because I did this to a mate of mine who's in the folk metal band, going back to my mate before we talk about Derkéta. I was trying to give him a shot of amaretto.
Oof.
But I accidentally poured him a pint's worth. He drank. He drank the whole thing and passed out in his chair.
I'm glad he's okay.
Then he
Honestly,
woke up and one of our mates was there. He's like, "Oh, what happened?" He's like, "Oh, I once has gone to bed." And he's like, "Bastards."
I feel guilty laughing, but knowing that he's okay.
He's fine. He's fine. He still calls me a dickhead for it. But I was, in my defense, I was tipsy to that point of being completely drunk. That's my defense. It's not a good one, but that's it.
There are a lot of things that people do under the influence that they don't really intend on doing. It just kind of happens.
Beer is bad for you.
Yeah.
Well, this is a stout, and it's called Up Late.
Stout is I don't think it's as potent unless they intentionally make it potent.
Well, if you look at the percentage, it's 10%.
Oh, well, that's pretty, yeah, that's substantial.
Well, I've had one stronger than this.
Yeah.
Like 13, 14, 15%, strong stuff.
Oh, yeah, the worldwide stout from Dogfish Head Ale, I think, is 18 and a half.
Yeah. Oh, shit.
Yeah, we all learned that one the hard way.
Yeah, we all learned it the hard way, and that's the price you got to pay. Now, back to Derkéta.
Yes.
You joined the band because Sharon's still in the band. She's still in the band?
Sharon?
She's still in the band?
Yes, yeah.
What's she like as a person?
She is, well, I think it depends on how you know her. I think she's a pretty amazing person. We've been friends for a long time, and she's, she's a hard worker. She's committed to what she does. I think she is, well, she was one of the first generations of people doing this, and I think her reasons are still the same. She does it because she enjoys it, and she doesn't feel the need to put something out just because she hasn't put something out in a while, or to rush something out. She doesn't do it to maintain any sort of attention or status. She's just a good person, kind of playing music and doing what she loves to do. Yeah,
because obviously I'd like to see Derkéta live at some point, but I don't know if you're ever going to come to the UK or anything. I wish you'd come to the UK. That'd be great.
We were trying for a while there, but
that'd be good if you could.
When we released the record, which has been some time now.
What's it called?
In Death We Meet.
That's it. In Death We Meet.
Yeah, the full length. So when we released that, we decided to just put it out ourselves, because we were kind of like, hey, let's do it ourselves. It's just what we wanted to do. So so everything that we do, we any sort of booking, I mean, we just do it ourselves, just like we did in back in the day. So so it's a little bit different. It's not like there's a label with tour packages, or that are like, hey, we'll get you on this tour, or whatever. It would basically be sort of like all organized by us, which isn't a problem, but coordinating people's schedules at this stage in the game is a little bit difficult. So we did more one-offs here and one-offs there, and we were doing more weekends than we were anything like full-blown tours. But we definitely were super interested in coming your way.
It'd be good if you can.
To happen. Yeah, the last thing that we did was, we have a little bit of a round robin, no pun intended, thing where there's Trish, Robin, Mike, and Sharon and I now, as it stands. And if somebody can't, it's sort of, Robin is based out of Florida, but she's always on tour with other bands, as in like that's what she does for a living. She's professional merchant management for other bands. So she would, before the COVID shutdown hit, she was on the road, I don't know, 10 months out of the year, if not more. So she would actually fly from, like, she would be in some, usually on our continent, but she would be on the continent, and she would fly to a show and then fly back to the tour. Sure. So it was like that definitely makes it a lot more difficult to do any traveling.
Well, at the moment, because COVID.
Yep, and now right. The last thing that Killtown Death Fest is one of the last. I know that. Yeah, it's one of the last things that we did, which was great. It was a blast, and it was. So I think with things like that, could definitely happen when things are safe and travel opens up again, something like that. You know, we're just going to, you know, somewhere for 4 days versus 5 weeks, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I would still love to go out for 2 months, but it's just not really plausible, unfortunately.
Well, yeah. Well, it depends as well on everyone's availability as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's like on top of that, the availability is always, you know, and it's not, you
Yeah,
know.
I'm just saying, like, it'd be great to see Derkéta, especially like if you guys came and played the Griffin, that'd be great.
Oh, I think we'd love to. You know what I mean? It would be a total.
Oh, if there's enough people that would know who Derkéta is, a lot of people are like Derkéta. I'm like, well, I kind of guess it would happen.
As much as it is, but yeah, that would be. You never know. You know, you never know. That's the thing.
That's it. You don't know.
And
Well,
now,
hopefully you do.
When the biggest of bands can't be out there, you know, the bands that are out there touring 10 months out of the year, you know, I think everything's going to start opening up little by little, but who knows? It might be the DIY venues that, you know, get the first chance of opening. We've lost quite a few venues here in Pittsburgh.
Oh shit.
So, you know, when things happen, we acquired a building, and so we actually made our own DIY venue.
Cool.
Some friends of ours who have a vegan restaurant called Onion Maiden. It's like a metal punk themed vegan restaurant, which is awesome. And a couple of us put in on this building, so we know that we'll be able to do shows when the time is right. But so we'll have to just see what happens. You know, everyone's got their hand in a lot of cookie jars.
Yeah, because everyone's missing shows at the moment.
Of course, big time.
That was my social life.
I know. It's definitely like, and doing things like this is actually, I think, has been a lifesaver for a lot of people.
Yeah,
you know, having the chance to interact. Right. Sure.
Yeah,
sure.
I just started this because Cam, who's doing the Growl documentary about death metal.
Yes.
I had him on here, not like this. I did it via Facebook Live, and I called him on Facebook. He gave me the idea to do this. So I'm crediting Cam for giving me the idea to talk to people such as yourself and Cam and Chris Ryford, and I had John McEntee on here as well.
I know, it's amazing. It's you talk to some good dudes.
And David Gregor from Mortis Scold, he was on it. He was my first one.
That's awesome.
He was my first chat I had, and then it was my mates from DSL Costume who came on literally straight after that, the same day. So I did 2 chats the same day.
You know what? And it's definitely, it's no joke. You know, it's tiring. You know, it's like you're investing a lot of yourself in doing things like this, and we really appreciate, you know, you talking to people like us, and you know, we're all this, you know, we're all in the same. There's LG again. We're all yes. What's up, bud? We're all in the same crew. So it's nice that you take the time, though, but not everybody will take the time or has the oomph to be able to put themselves out there.
I'm still trying to get people to come on here, but I think most of them are just too busy with the day-to-day jobs that they have, instead of, you know, because they got the bands, but then obviously the bands don't pay. Music doesn't really pay. Death metal doesn't pay, so you got to have a job to come home to. So
yes.
Like, guys from Immolation, guys from Incantation, all the bands have jobs they come back to.
Yeah, definitely. This is not one of the places where there's any sort of subsidization for doing this type of you know, for playing this type of music.
Yeah, because you can't make money from it unless you run your own merch store online or something, then you make it money that way.
You have to be hustling 24/7, you know.
And it's difficult.
A lot of more people are going back to work now, and I think that's it. Like you said, like last year at this time, everybody was home, but now people are going back and kind of making up for lost time. But I'm sure there's still going to be plenty of people, even if you spread it out. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of people to talk to.
Yeah, definitely. Still working on it. Still working on getting guests. Hopefully by December I'll have a lot more. I'm chatting to a lot more before December.
Keep it up. You're doing great. I mean, I'm thrilled.
I appreciate that, Mary. Thank you very much.
My pajamas.
Pajamas.
Yeah. It was funny because I was like, I should change. I was like, you know what? This is the metal chat. We're gonna.
It's the metal chat. You doesn't care. You can be dressed up. You can be dressed up as, I don't know, your favorite Batman villain or something. I wouldn't care.
Who would that be?
Poison Ivy.
No, but that's a good guess. I think that's a good guess.
Harley Quinn.
Everybody loves Catwoman, but
Catwoman.
Catwoman's kind of a good, can be kind of a good, you know what I mean? She's kind of
I love Harley Quinn.
What's
I love
that?
Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn.
Gotcha.
I love her.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
she's just, yeah, she's great. She's one of my favorites.
That's
And
cool.
and well, Joker being my all-time favorite villain within the DC universe because he's just crazy and voiced by Mark Hamill in the animated series. So there you go.
Yes, I did know that. I did know that.
Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker himself.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Mark Hamill does some great.
He's brilliant. I'd love to meet him one day.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. He seems like a good dude.
He seems like a good dude. So I'd love to meet him one day and just chat nothing but Joker. I love Star Wars, but Joker.
Yeah.
Because he's probably sick of Star Wars. People talking about Star Wars, like, no, ask him about the Joker.
Yeah.
But
definitely.
yeah, but Derkéta, you didn't come up with the name, obviously.
No, that was Sharon.
That was Sharon.
I believe, and our friend, I think it was a suggestion. It might have been a suggestion by our friend Jeff from Doomwatch, who was in a band called Doomwatch that were on Combat Records, but they were another awesome Pittsburgh band. Like you talk about the Bristol bands, we love our Pittsburgh bands, and they were a thrash band from Pittsburgh, I think until '91.
The whole band didn't last too long.
Yeah, Doomwatch was great, and Terry from like the band that I was in, Penance, but became Penance in, I think it was 1990. They were Dream Death before that. Basically, they changed a little bit stylistically, but it was 3 out of the 4 members of Dream Death. But Terry from Dream Death and Penance was also in Doomwatch back in the day. So as you know, especially at that stage in your life when you're all about it, when you're just all about it, especially when you're learning so many new things. So Jeff, I think, Jeff from Doomwatch, now in Submachine, gave Sharon the suggestion for it. I think that's for Derkéta, because it was Stygian mythology. And I don't think I'm pronouncing that correctly.
I don't know. I wouldn't know either.
Yeah. So she was the goddess of death.
Goddess of death, that's right. Yeah, I've read that up. Yeah.
So that's that's definitely sort of
very metal. So with metal bands, you always come up with names to do with gods or goddesses or.
It's definitely, yeah. Derkéta though is definitely a little bit different because it was about, like, Sharon would describe artwork and somebody would do something really intense. She's like, that's too intense. That's not us. We're not, she's like, we're not blood, guts, and gore. She's like, we're spooky.
With this.
Like, yes, we're like Scooby-Doo spooky is what she used to say. We're like
It's like Scooby-Doo turn up to the max when you hear the music though.
Yeah, the music, but the artwork, she just like
the artwork, like, with In Death We Meet, that's very Scooby-Doo-ish.
That's exactly, and it took a while.
Now thinking about it.
Yes, there you go. It's very sort of, it's a little bit more traditional, classic. It's blues and mist and things. It's not,
Yeah, and so, how long did that take to record?
Oh, you know what? It was over a few sessions. So I don't know if we put it through. Nobody took a long time to record their track.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, but it was just a matter of getting. Unfortunately, it had to be. You always do. It's the same way that a lot of people always have. You go and you record live, and then you go back and you fix what you need to fix.
Yeah.
But there was more tracking, unfortunately. As you started to layer, then you had to track and do a little bit of retracking on some things. And I know the first time around, Sharon was really not happy with her guitar sound. So she went back and, but we weren't under any sort of like a time commitment to do it. So it was just basically until it was kind of close to what everybody was like, that's cool. That sounds, that sounds at least close to what we want. And, it was
I've heard songs from the album and I like the sounds of it.
Yeah.
I love the sound.
Well, thank you. I mean, it's like, again, it was 4 friends kind of doing what we've been doing for over 30 years.
Yeah, over 30. Yeah, because
I know.
Derkéta formed in what, 88, was it?
88, yes. Yep. And again,
they've been around since 30 something years now.
Yeah.
Mental.
Totally. I know. It's been a very long time.
They formed around the same year. Paradise Lost formed, Cannibal Corpse formed, not Saint Vitus, they were 70s. Vital Remains formed in 88.
Right. Uh-huh.
And
the bands that they were going to see early were like Incantation, Immolation.
Immolation.
Yeah, a lot of those bands were coming around. I mean, we also had to on the getting more into the death metal and even grindcore side of things in our part of, you know, in our little corner of the world in Pittsburgh, just outside, get Rotrevor and Hideous Manglius, two of my favorites. And they were like right up the river from one another, not from the city. Bell Vernon to me is the home of Hideous Manglius, which is like the perfect, one of my all-time favorite bands, perfect combination of hardcore, punk, and grindcore. You know, but they were one of the first bands to do it. So, you know, yeah, so check them out. But I like it because they break it down and it's like a punk breakdown.
So who's that? Hideous who?
Hideous Manglius.
Say that again.
Hideous Manglius.
Hideous Manglius. All right, I'll check them out. I know Rotrevor because that's just like really just out really heavy death metal, and it's two different vocalists. You got to try and pinpoint which vocalist is who, because they both got different styles to their vocals.
Yeah.
And I don't know their names. I don't know if I can find them on Facebook or anything.
You know what? It might take a little bit. You know, it would be Mark Mastro and Chris Webber, and then
that's the ones.
You know, yeah, that would be the original. You know, and they had some lineup changes over the years as well. But that's that. You know, they were also, you know, an early Relapse band, and
of course Relapse.
Right, and a Pittsburgh-based band, although they were just outside of the city. Again, a lot of the death metal was happening just outside of the city in this, you know, in the surrounding small towns.
Yeah,
not too far away, but you know, so how these kids, I don't know if they were, you know, it was the same thing. How everybody was getting their information, writing letters, tape trading, fans,
yeah.
Right. And that's why the record store is so important. And I'm really glad that you guys are getting
records. We're getting that now, which is great because I looked on the website. He's got his website open. My mate David.
Awesome.
Got the website open. And I saw Resurrections in Bombed Existence on tape on there already.
Wow.
Like, well, I'm getting that.
Well, I'm sure he's going to be thrilled. You're like,
he'll be happy when he sees someone like me and all of us like walking. It's like, I'll get that, I'll get that, I'll get that, I'll get that.
Yeah.
And speaking of Rotrevor, I actually got the patch of their album because Paul the Plug Patches did a patch version of it.
Round of applause.
Awesome.
Awesome.
It's going on my jacket because I've got a death metal one just for death metal bands. And I got Massacre on there. I just need Mythic and Derkéta and I'll be set.
I don't know if we have any. We had Derkéta patches at one time. Sharon's got all that stuff. I know she was running low on running low on merch.
I'll contact her.
Yeah. So or let me know. Like I said, I can always give.
I'll talk to you. Yeah, it's in your ear. And because they did one with Mythic, Paul the Plug. They did it with Mourning in the Winter Solstice as well. They done that patch, but I was a bit late getting one.
That's, you know what, it's interesting though, and I'm not sure who any of these people are who are putting out the Mythic stuff.
You just follow it and make patches, and then there was one called, I'm trying to remember, it's called like music clothing or something, and they had Mythic, the Mourning in the Winter Solstice shirt. I was like,
I have not been involved with anything merch related with that band since
1992, so that's 29 years.
It's been a very long time.
Been a long time since you've been involved in Mythic.
Yes, yeah.
This band again, people.
I would have loved to have seen. I have no problems with people making stuff like we always did, make stuff because, you know, give it to your friends or, you know, whatever. But it's interesting to me though whenever, you know, people press records and they press somebody's name and look at their stupid goofy face over and over again, and then maybe I should call this person before I release something they were on. I'm going to utilize the name and the image of this human being.
You should at least contact you saying we've done this.
So I mean, that's all I'm saying. It's like,
well, it's happened now, and it's like, damn it. It's like, do you not know that one of the members was one of the members from this band used to be in that band? It's like, shit, I didn't know. Well, now you fucking know.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I just think if it's like, you know, if I'm going to release a record, I'm going to contact, you know,
You got to contact these people.
yes, yeah, totally, and be like, hey, is it cool if I do this? But I still think, like, when people are making shirts and patches and things like that, it's like people generally do it because they want one. You know what I mean? Like, it's not because they're trying to profit off of somebody. They're doing it because they want one. Yeah.
And well, I want one because I became a fan of Mythic, even though the band split up when I was still a baby. I'm making you feel old. I'm sorry.
It's, you know what? It's totally great. I mean, I can say I'm still lucky to be here. You know.
Yeah, and well, again, I'll show the CD because I found this in Stockholm, Sweden, at Scandinavia Death Fest because Dismember reformed. So I got to see him twice that same weekend, and that was there in a merch store, and I just picked it up.
You got to travel. Like that logo's it looks all stretched to me. Doesn't that look stretched?
Yeah, it does actually. It doesn't look like it does. Oh, wait, it looks better on the CD.
That looks better. Yes.
Better on the CD.
That looks better. That looks legit.
It's stretched out on the cover, but on the CD, that's how it's supposed to look.
Yeah.
Like that.
Wow. I think there are other Mythics that have come out since. You know.
Well, I'm just saying, for me, this is the best one.
I'm glad you like it. You know what? Like I said, it was fun to be a part of it. It was a short time.
Short-lived band, but you made an impact.
Got to meet some crucial friends, you know, and got to have some experiences that you know, I'll never forget, you know, and that makes you as a person. So it's kind of like, I'll always be grateful for that time.
Yeah, because you, like you say, you play with all these bands. I mentioned them. Cannibal Corpse, All Top C. Incantation.
Yep.
Mortician.
Yep.
All those guys. And I think with that same show, the Michigan one, I think Matt Selcher, he was the drummer in Mortician.
Yes, yeah.
I think he was there when you guys played because he was the drummer for a while, but sadly he died in 94, I think it was.
Mm-hmm. It's been a long time.
John talked about him for a bit in our chat.
Yeah, there were a lot of people, again, from the scene too, I knew from playing and saying hi to, but didn't know to the degree that people that had been writing each other for a long time, you know. So
probably said his name wrong. I probably said his last name wrong.
Oh, I'm not sure. You know, I don't know if I've actually ever said his last name. You know, but
it's just Matt.
Yeah,
it's just Matt when you saw him.
But we were, you know, one of the things that I remember the most is talking to Scott Carlson from Repulsion forever about, well, we were both New York Dolls fans. So like we were talking about something it was music related, but not metal related. And we were talking about records and old, you know, and became buds after that. And I just am so grateful to know him. I think he's a great person. He's a great musician. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
And he's an encyclopedia of knowledge about so many, you know, he's an encyclopedia of knowledge. I guess that's the thing.
Yeah, I got a mate like that here in Bristol.
Yeah.
I got a mate like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think for one of his episodes, he's got one called Phil's Breakfast Metal. That's his podcast. And I think he mentioned Mourning in the Winter Solstice on one episode. I think it was Death Metal Gems. He's mentioned it.
You know what's funny is the time that I'll see, like, again, you know, it was a time people, I'm sure everybody says this, that's of a certain genre, you know, to you, with the people that you talk to. It you know, there was no internet at the time, which there wasn't.
It was death metal. It was got that doom. It was got that thrash.
You had that. Yep, you had to.
That sort of thing, you know.
Well, you had to work to find it. You know, now it's people are like.
Internet is like.
Bands have become brands. You know, people are wearing bands. Yes, people are wearing bands. They have no idea what the band are, and it was about, you know, when it was about. You know, there was an anti-culture. It was supposed to be anti-fashion. It was like everybody wore t-shirts, jeans, and, you know, boots or tennis shoes. It was sort of like, I know everything ends up inadvertently having a uniform, but, you know, now it's sort of like, whoa, it's like the incorporation of so much fashion and insanity in these genres that started to rebel against just that is a little bit odd to me. But things change over time.
Things change.
Yeah, things change over time. But I think that just going back to what what the few people that do look and find bands like ours is probably the best way to put it. The smaller bands, the older, smaller bands, it's always appreciated. But short story, very long, Morning in the Winter Solstice always pops up on the winter solstice. So around December 21st, that's when I'll see occasionally the post.
Love it.
Like, I'm always going to see this on this day by somebody, not everybody.
I don't think I've done that, so.
That's what I thought your friend in his podcast when he was
talking. Yeah, my mate Phil Wadey. Yeah, he put it on there. I just saw a picture. I was like, "Oh, Mythic's on there. That's cool."
Yeah, I venture to guess that it was the winter solstice.
Yeah, because if you listen to his podcast, he's got a naturally deep voice, and he just goes into so much detail about the bands, the albums, the EPs. I think that's why me and him get on so well, because we just got this knowledge of death metal and metal in general, but it was mainly death metal we talked about when I had him on. He's a nice guy, so
that's great. I'll look him up for sure. I'm definitely like,
I'll send you a link to his podcast. It's on SoundCloud, and he's also on Spotify and places like that.
Send me a link, please. Absolutely, because I'm getting back into unfortunately we've gone back into a kind of a crazy working world where we're making up for lost time. So I'd say the last 6 months, a lot of the stuff I was involved with and trying to keep track of, it's fallen by the wayside. So any recommendations, I'm happy to take them.
I'll just get them all, put them on a page or Word profile, list everything. Then I'll have everything there. It's like this track, this track, this track, this track, this track, this track, this podcast, this. Link it on here, hopefully.
I got
and
it.
then just on Instagram, and then I'll be like, probably just like, sorry for the long list.
Time to do it. I'm taking it in, so I can.
Yeah, just take it in.
Yeah,
the thing.
Definitely, for sure.
And before we finish this chat, because I usually ask bands about merch and everything, I like your tattoos.
Thank you.
You're covered in tattoos.
I am.
That.
Awesome.
The dog.
That's great. What dog is that? Sweet.
It's the Download dog. It's a festival called Download.
Oh yeah, right on.
And I don't like the festival as much because the walk from the campsite to the arena is stupidly long. It's Donington Racetrack. So, but they had a cool mascot, which is this dog.
I can't think of anything better than a good mascot.
Yeah, and I got 2 zombies on my leg.
And I've got the Stray Cat's cat on me. I actually love rockabilly, so I got that with 2
you look like this. You look like someone who likes rockabilly. Yeah,
I do. I do love. I was.
I've heard a bit.
Yes, and when I was before Mythic, I was in a rock. I wasn't in, but I was filling in for a rockabilly band a long time ago. So so that might have been it. It stayed with me the whole.
You
time.
Just ran all over the bloody place.
I did. You know what? It's sort of like, it's silly. I would love to mention more, but it's just like I wouldn't expect anyone to know. So it's like you just ride the wave.
If anyone, when people watch this and like, I think most people just ask me, how the hell do you get these people? I just send them a message. And I messaged you thinking, is she going to get back to me? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. And all of a sudden it's like, yeah, I'd love to be on here. It's like, oh, fucking hell, that's great.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
You're welcome. You're more than welcome to come back on the chat, because I may do more chats where I bring all guests back.
Oh, yeah. I'd love to.
Live stream it, not Zoom it, live stream it on StreamYard, which is a live stream platform thing. And people ask me on the Heavy Metal Hangout, which is on YouTube, who have I got for the Jake's Metal Chat. I mentioned you, and people, well, as soon as I said Mythic, they were like, oh yeah.
I said, who?
I was like, who's Mary? It's like, Mythic. Do you know who Mythic is? Oh, we know Mythic, we just don't know who that is. Like, bassist.
Yeah, I think that's quite it's a long time has passed, you know, a
One
lot
time
of
has passed, and you
a
haven't.
lot of bands have come out since then, and we're just, you know, it's nice to be included in with all of these awesome people, you
Yeah,
know.
I just listen to bands either if they're going or they haven't been going. Like Mythic hasn't been going for 29 years,
Right, right.
so
Yeah.
I'm still gonna listen to it because I'll get influence from it in some form or another.
That's the most flattering thing ever. That's what, you know, like again, like full circle to the beginning. We keep full circling, but it was like, you know, somebody influences people before you influence you, and the people after you might be influenced by you. You know, it's, as we said, the ripple effect. This is Tobias is coming by.
Hello.
Yeah. So
Doesn't care.
we do, yeah, we do a lot of we're big animal people over here. So, you know, and that's why I was bummed out that she pulled down the vegan flag. I
You
said, I want to fly
thinking
a
cat.
flag of
Like,
compassion.
love me, human.
Yes, these two. Yeah.
It's like, love me. It's like, shh, leave her alone. She's chatting.
Yeah, I know. I know. He's always the first one on.
Oh, it's so cute though. You're just
Yeah.
a big ball of fluff.
It's where our cats are all whoppers. They're all big.
I used to have cats.
Oh.
So, well, I had a cat named Tigger, but I found out from my mum he died 2 years ago.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh,
But
Tigger.
yeah, because he was our cat, but then he moved out of the house and lived with a neighbor of ours, and then stayed with the neighbor. But he's quite old and he had tumors, and yeah, sad. So he died. He died.
There is everything that we care about has a, you know, has an expiration date, and I mean that in the most
Sadly.
compassionate sense.
Yeah,
You know,
sadly.
it doesn't make it any easier, and we should do our best to alleviate any sort of suffering and our responsibility to take care.
Yeah, and if you feel down, listen to music.
Yeah.
And that gets you out of that negative, those negative thoughts.
Exactly. You help where you can. You know, a life of service is the best life. You know,
Yeah.
and if you can help somebody, you can help definitely. And that, like I said, that crosses over the lines of species and age and, you know, gender and everything. You just, you know, be helpful. Everybody's an earthling in one way or another.
Yeah.
You know, and we're only going to be here for so long. So try to enjoy
So,
it while you can, but you can do it.
That's what I said to Paul Speckman, because I had him on there. I said,
awesome.
live your life while you can. And he said to me, oh, maybe you should get t-shirts of Jake's Metal Chat and have that on the back.
Exactly.
That's what he said.
That's a good.
As soon as you said that.
Now, who better to make that suggestion than him?
Then one of the earliest within this scene, Paul Speckman.
Total trailblazer.
He is a legend among legends, as well as Cam Lee and Jeff, and you know, Cam, Jeff Purser.
Yeah.
I haven't met him yet. I'd like to.
John McEntee.
John McEntee, of course, another legend. I think anyone who's been in the death metal scene for a long time is now a legend.
You know what? All those guys though that kept true to what they were playing.
They kept true to it, even if death metal was going down the toilet as such.
And they stayed with their visions and their projects and what they knew. It's easy to do what I did, which is like, I mean, I never stopped playing, but you know, I was this recording, jumping from here to there. For somebody to make a commitment to one thing for a long period of time is really, you know, that's worthy of praise in many cases.
Yeah, with LG Petrov, he kept at it even when death metal wasn't being listened to much. He kept at it, and it's sad that he's gone.
Very sad.
I wish he was still here.
Too soon, huge impact.
Huge impact. It hit us all. Same with Riley Gale from Power Trip. He passed away as well, which hit all of us like a ton of bricks.
Yeah, that was a very big, like, you know, generationally, it's you know, more millennial.
Yeah.
You know,
And
my goodness, did he affect a lot of people?
Yeah, and Joe from Broken Hope.
Yeah.
He died in 2010.
Yeah.
He had a massive impact in the death metal scene. Brett Hoffman as well.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of we've lost a lot of people, not just in death metal, but within metal itself, because we lost all these different.
Sure.
Dio. We lost him in 2010, which sucks.
Right.
Because he was meant to play Bloodstock in 2010, but then he obviously that was August. He died in May.
Mhm.
But he's left a massive impact. His solo stuff,
Oh my
Black
gosh.
Sabbath,
Yeah,
you name it, he's done it.
totally. That's my
Heaven and
Black
hell.
Sabbath. Dio Sabbath is my Sabbath. I'll
I
never take
like a
it.
mix of Ozzy and Dio.
Sure. I mean, the thing is, my least favorite thing about Black Sabbath, and that's fine. You know, it's. I make no bones about it. My least favorite thing about Black Sabbath is Ozzy Osbourne specifically. You know.
Oh, I can see why. You can
Yeah.
see why, because he's
It's just, you know, it's always been that way. It's just sort of like, you know, like I said, everything else, the musicianship, amazing, creativity, whatever, but I just was never a big, it fits, you know, like you said, well, what else could it be? But it was always my, you know, he was always my least favorite part um of of Sabbath. But that's also, that doesn't mean I don't
and that's
still,
fine.
yeah.
I'm not going to rip your head off about it. So.
I mean, you know what I mean? You've got the rest of the, like, I'm like the rest of the band. I'm like, these could have been all instrumentals.
Yeah, definitely. And
Yeah. No, I
obviously,
like to poke fun and tell people because I do love Dio Sabbath. I do.
yeah, no,
So
and that's fair enough. That's fair
yes,
enough.
it's always fun to bring it up because people are like,
Dio
oh,
is amazing.
yes, totally amazing.
Lemmy, we've lost Lemmy.
Yeah.
And Animal and Fast Eddie as well. All of them on Ace of Spades.
Yep.
That lineup.
I know, and I think what Fast Eddie was 2018, I think it was, and then Lemmy and Phil.
Lemmy and Animal were 2015.
Yeah, 15, and then I think Fast Eddie was 2018, I think.
And obviously, yeah, and them being a big part of metal, and not just metal but rock as well. And going to rock musicians, Jimi Hendrix. Mm-hmm. He was a massive influence on a lot of people, right. Even if it's like, oh, he's not like death metal or whatever, but people would have got an influence from some of his songs or whatever.
My gosh, of course. Again, it's all sort of the ripple effect. You know, something touches somebody that makes them do this type of music a little differently.
Yeah, that's from a death metal band. That sounds like Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah, there you go.
In some way, it will sound like Jimi Hendrix. It can be a guitar solo. It can be a riff.
Right.
It can be whatever.
It could be gear. You know what I mean? Even though we were talking about traditional, but I mean, it could be one of things. It could be the head, the speaker. It could be, you know, the guitar. Definitely, you know, a little bit of a stretch there with death metal, but you know, everybody's mixing it up now, so you never know with so many options what people are going to come up with, which is part of the fun of it, you know.
You never know what people are going to come up with until it comes out, and you're like, right, okay, it's crusty death metal, but with that blues feel or whatever.
And who doesn't love that?
Who doesn't like a bit of blues? But you know,
totally.
It's like, oh, it's death metal, but with that influence of Led Zeppelin or whatever. It's like, what the fuck? It's like Led Zeppelin, because that's what one of my mates. Well, as you know, like going back to Black Sabbath, because my band Herbicidal is like my mate Harry from Embodiment said, I like it because it's like Black Sabbath and death metal, and that's how he put it.
It's great. That's a good.
Yeah. I'll send you the album as well, and you can name. It's on Bandcamp. It's a name your price, so you can pay what you want.
That's great. Like I said, I always want to support. You know, everybody. Like
I'll send it over. See what you think. If you don't like it, that's fair enough. Chris Foyford, I send it to him.
Yeah.
And he loved it.
That's great. There you go.
I was just like,
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of my favorite members. One of my favorite musicians likes it.
Yeah, yeah. Seriously, like I said, Trailblazer. You can't go wrong.
Can't go wrong. And speaking of band merch, I know Mythic stuff. You're not too involved with that, so we're not going to say where you can find that. But people can probably find Morning and Winter Solstice on Discogs or whatever.
I'm sure they could. Yeah, and I'm sure they could find whatever they're looking for through somebody.
Yeah, and with Derkéta, I don't know how involved you are with the merch there, but where can we find that?
You know, anything that would be available would be, you could check, that would be All Sharon, and that would be just any of the social media sites, just drop a line right now. I think it's, you know, there's definitely a need of a big restock. So it's listen to me umming and on over here like I don't know what. The In Death We Meet was pressed on vinyl by John McEntee's record label.
Oh yeah.
So I'm not sure what the status is of that at this point. I know he had put it out on 3 different types of vinyl, and it was the original. It was all the material plus we played with Carcass here in Pittsburgh when they
of course, Carcass, another early example.
Yep, and that ended up being like the 4th side for the double LP. So that you can contact John's label if
I'll do that.
Something like that. But as far as any other Derkéta merch, but we would always handle it ourselves as well. So just any form of social media, just take it.
I did find In Death We Meet on a Bandcamp store, so I'll have to look for it again, and I'll link it in the description below. I usually do that.
Awesome.
So, and if
that's great.
people want to chat to Mary, I'll most likely get your Instagram down there if they want to chat. If you're like with people chatting.
Sure. How do you mean on the YouTube chats?
Because there's a description box, and you put stuff in there, like you type something saying, "Oh, hey guys," or "Hello everyone," or
"Got it.
What's up?" And you put all the links to Facebook, YouTube, and a cat's pack.
Awesome. Hey, we'll have to have a separate chat about this, and you can just hit me on how to do all of this stuff.
Yeah, I'll link all the band stuff anyway, so if people want to find Derkéta stuff, it's going to be there.
That's awesome.
Behind Enemy Line stuff, it can be there.
Yeah, the last record that I put out, I've been in a band called Mud City Manglers for the last
Mud City Manglers.
But it's punk rock. It's also punk rock, but it's quite
punk rock in this.
Yeah. So that's actually when I've been the more active. We just put our record "Give Me the Hammer" out. So I'm going to send you links to that, or put a package together and send it to you when I get to the post office and send Dave's. But I've got some other stuff from the other bands.
Cool.
I know we're focusing on the metal stuff today. So
cool. If you're going to send me packages and whatnot, I'll put my address on the private message on Instagram, and then you'll have it.
Totally. That would be great.
And I'll do the same with you. Once I got stuff out, I'll send it over to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I don't know when I'm going to get there.
But I'm always happy to support. So anyone who's got Bandcamp or anything like that, if that's how people roll, I'm happy to support and check out what everybody's doing. So that's
I'll link my band's album, Herbicidal's album. Is only a digital release at the moment. I haven't got the CDs yet.
Yeah.
Once I do, you'll get one.
I think that's awesome. We'll trade.
We'll trade. That's the whole thing. It's going back to the tape trading days again.
Oh, totally.
The internet version.
Right. The internet version. Although a lot of people are putting tapes out again. And
no, I'll do that.
Yes, I get the charm in that. Especially if you have like an old Tascam or something and you can dupe your own tapes, that's great. Go for it. I can't think of a worse format, because if you lose the little piece of felt, you're just done.
You're screwed. You can't play that tape.
It's over. Yeah, you gotta find it.
If you cut it, tear it, rip it, it's done.
It really is.
Me personally, it'll just be collecting the tape, not playing them.
Yeah, right. Of course. Yeah.
I'll just buy the 7-inch vinyl of Premature Death and just play that instead.
Well, that's great. Like I said, keep me posted on anyway for communications.
Definitely.
Thanks for listening to rap about.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you for joining me on Jake's Metal Chat, episode 38. I was going to say another episode. I was going to say a much higher number then. Thank you for that. It's good to learn about Mythic, because obviously I wouldn't have known unless I spoke to someone from the band. Unless I spoke to someone who actually saw you guys back in the day, but I don't know that many people who have.
I don't. I'm sure there are some that are not. As we were saying, they're probably not walking this mortal plane anymore.
Or they probably like, oh yeah, I had my metal phase. I'm no longer a metalhead. No, once you're a metalhead, that's it.
I agree.
That's it. Yeah, of course, you'll agree with that. But someone's like, oh yeah, I used to be in a metal. Now I play rap music. What? Once you're a metalhead, you're a metalhead.
I think you're always a metalhead, even if you love, even if you're listening to swing for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I listen to metal, and I also listen to folk music. because I go out in nature, because I get influence from nature in some ways.
Great. And then you put it together, and there you go.
Always there. And
yeah, it could be this, it could be this.
yeah, so
great.
It all goes there. And once again, thank you for coming on. You're more than welcome to come back on the chat somewhere down the line. I'm not sure when I'm going to do the whole bring back certain guests, and then it'll probably just me just sat there like that while everyone's talking about the old days, and I wish I was there.
That's what we're linking, the old days to the new days, and it's hard to do.
So you guys can all teach me about things I didn't ask beforehand, but I think I asked everything I needed to ask.
Hideous Manglius. I'll send it to you.
Hideous Manglius.
Yeah.
I'll remember that. But send me a link anyway.
Yes.
Or the band name, and then I can type it on YouTube and listen.
I will, absolutely. And thanks so much, guys, thanks for listening to us.
Right, thanks for listening to our ramblings, just us talking about bands.
I know we kind of did
I kind of went off topic. I tend to do that anyway, because we mention a band and then it's like, oh yeah, you played this, and then you talk about other bands and blah blah blah.
Right.
It happens. It happens. And
a good job of plugging my current bands or my current stuff, but there's all the time in the world for that. So I'm glad we got to talk about what we did. Like I said,
and once again, be sure to check out Mythic. I know they haven't been a band since '92, but still, check them out. And Derkéta. And Derkéta. Fine Enemy Lines. I'm laughing now because I just made you laugh. And I'll show you my folk metal band.
Yes. We're gonna swap some stories.
Look for that logo when we got stuff out.
Yeah, for sure.
And
great.
Got to plug this band in as much as I can, even if we haven't got anything out for definite. We've got some demos, but not anything concrete. And she's been Mary of Derkéta, ex November's Doom, ex Mythic, fucking Penance, Behind Enemy Lines. I don't know how many more bands she's in or currently in or was in or anything. And thank you for tuning into this, people, if you are watching, and I hope you were. Make sure to like this video, share it around, subscribe to my channel because it helps, so I don't go completely insane and run around the streets saying the world is coming to an end. And making her laugh again. I got that ability somehow. And again, she's been Mary of Derkéta. Check out Mythic, obviously, Behind Enemy Lines, and all the other bands she's either been in or still currently in. Keep an eye out on her Instagram because she might post music stuff on it. If you are following her on Instagram, she goes by Satanic something. Satanic Mechanic.
Yes. As in Satan, Seitan, like vegan, eating Satan.
Okay, like, all right. So if you see it, there we go. And even if things get posted on the Derkéta page, which I don't think there's been much posted lately, but keep an eye on that. I'll most likely share it on the Jake's Metal Chat Facebook page, and even talk about Derkéta in my podcast, Jake's Metal Sessions, and play some music, because that'll be great. If it's all right with you and Sharon to do so, I need thumbs up. So play some Derkéta. Somewhere down the line, it'll just be like Death Metal Madness now. So thank you guys. Yeah. So thank you guys for. Sorry, Mary, what were you going to say?
I just say go nuts.
Go nuts. Thank you. And that's the closing line from her. And the closing line from me is thank you very much. Take care of yourselves. Wave that banner of death metal high, as our good old Uncle Ken of Ken's Death Metal Crypt would say. And a big shout out to him as well, because he's posted the Premature Death EP on his channel. Well, he doesn't call it his channel, he calls it the channel. So be sure to check his channel out, and Cam's channel, the Growl, and Rabid Dog, and all that stuff, and all the other bands that I've had on this chat. There will be more. I'm rambling on. I'll shut up now, so take care of yourselves.